wild, wild. Wicked wild, wicked wild, wicked wild, wild west. Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada. None of this.
Episode 63.
63, dude. Wow. Do we have a special guest for you?
Yeah, we do.
Good friend of mine, Danny O'Leary.
How you doing, Shane and Matt? Thanks for having me.
What's up, Dan?
This is a special treat.
Fill them in. Fill the listeners in on fucking...
Me and Dano grew up together. We played football. Dan was a heck of a middle linebacker. Could really lay the wood. Not gay. He's not gay at all. Loved drinking, fucking and fighting. And then he became a priest. Out of fucking left field.
Man of the cloth.
Yep.
Sure. I just want to disclaimer here.
Not gay.
I did not become a priest. So that's
Oh, shit.
So that's part of what we'll talk about. Yeah. I was in the Roman Catholic seminary for 6 years total.
So you were under the tutelage of the masters.
Correct. So I'll explain like you want me
Yeah.
to, I think, just how that goes and everything.
So you were studying under the maestros.
That's correct.
That's fucking
The great
awesome,
masters.
dude. So what did you ever
right
like?
here in the city of Philadelphia?
How'd you guys deal with like dragon skin and stuff? Did you ever like cut someone's flesh off and cure them or no?
No, I don't think it was anything like that. It was a lot more nerdier than that, believe it or not. A lot more lame. So
Before we get into that, I
What?
would like to, because Dan appreciates stories about my dad.
Yeah.
I do have to fucking bring this up because I literally haven't laughed this hard. I showed you guys already. It's the funniest fucking thing in the world.
You had to post the pic,
and
dude. It's
I
so
did. It's on
funny.
my Instagram at Shane M Gillis. M as in Michael, Saint Michael.
There you go.
But
Start going by your full four confirmation
Shane
name too.
Michael Sebastian Gillis.
There you go. Martyr saint.
Sebastian, my confirmation name after the great Polish kicker Sebastian Janikowski. That's why I picked it. But we went. My niece was in town, so we took her to play laser tag.
How was she, first of all, at laser tag?
She stunk.
Did you hit her? You tag
My
her
dad
up?
was
You
the
tag her
worst.
up?
My dad was easily the worst. Like the high score, one kid got like 29,000, which was absurd. There's no running rule that a lot of people disobeyed. People
Really?
were fucking sprinting.
Really?
Really pissed me
was
the
it
fuck off.
was it full there or was
Yeah, it was packed.
Okay.
God, that's so
It
fun.
was us and a bunch of black kids, which was really funny to see my dad. I'm like, dude, my dad's going to get someone in like a hands up, don't shoot situation. He's going to be like, fuck you.
Was your dad standing his ground the whole time?
My
or
dad
no?
just stayed in the bag and stood his ground. He really did stand his ground. He defended the fort. He stayed back and defended the fort. He was like, not in my neighborhood.
That's so funny.
But, so right when we go in to do the rules, now we're under black lights. And everyone, we're in like a semicircle around the guy. He's a teenager going over the rules. And my sister, I just hear my sister say, she was like, Jesus Christ, Dad. And pointed at his crotch. And under the black light, my dad's jeans, his dick was just, it was fluorescent. Like, it was lighting up the room how much fucking, I don't know what it is. It can't be cum.
I mean, it can't. You can't
Nobody
totally
comes in
rule
their
that
jeans.
out. You can't totally rule that out.
Nobody comes directly into
He
their
might have been
jeans.
just like dick out of jeans and came just fountain headed all over his Levi's.
He
dude.
definitely doesn't wash those, and those jeans are definitely like 25 years old.
He probably. It might have been like a wet dream on the couch.
It was, dude.
He could have had a wet dream on the couch.
Maybe he cummed right
It's-
before
dude,
we went to tag.
It's so funny. It was like the opening scene of Belly. It was like a bunch of little black kids, and then it was just your dad with cum jeans.
He was walking through. He was wearing a dress shirt tucked in. He had his hands in his pockets.
Your dad was one of the security guards at the club that just
Everyone-
got shot.
Yeah, DMX was like, "What the fuck, dude? Why are you coming all over yourself?" Dude, as soon as my sister pointed it out, my dad was like, Jesus Christ. Dude, this kid was trying to read the explanation of the game,
my
like
God.
trying to explain. I had no idea what the rules were. I like fell over crying. I haven't laughed that hard. I don't think, me and my sister were both crying, sobbing,
Oh
laughing.
my god!
Because they still have, do you get a nickname?
Yeah, you get a nickname.
What was Phil's? What did
Phil's was Big Pun.
Was there-
Yeah, which was hilarious because everybody else, my sister was Katie, I was Shane, and of course we didn't know it was all black people in there. So they were like, and Big Pun, you're number 26. He walks out with his cum jeans. He's in there chasing little kids around in the laser tag, cum all over himself.
God.
I mean, that was I don't know what the fuck it was.
That's just a
I
funny fucking
I hope it was
afternoon.
detergent.
Oh,
Because,
what was on his jeans?
Yeah. There's no way.
Cum. That's the only thing that comes up in a black light's cum.
It was so much, dude. It was so much cum. That was multiple loads.
He probably let off like a 2-monther on like an afternoon nap on the couch. Was like, woke up, was like, God damn it.
He's probably watching golf.
He's probably
fell
right
asleep. Woke up just like,
Probably right before he went there, he probably woke up from a cum nap and like went right to laser tag. It was like, God damn it.
all right, Shane. All right.
That must be like a 2-monther.
Knock it off. Then he went to the Elks afterwards and got fucking shit faced, and then came home and there was UFC on last night, and I broke down my rules for betting on UFC because my dad was drunk enough that we bet on UFC last night, which is fun as fuck.
Oh, it must be so
Betting
much
on
fun.
UFC is like the
Oh,
most
yeah, we
fun
did
shit
it
in the world.
before.
And
No, I
neither of
did-
us,
yeah.
you bet on McGregor.
I did it with Beezer too one time.
It's fun as fuck.
So
when you
fun.
have money on the fighter,
Yeah.
it's great. But I broke down the rules to him. I was like, look, if it's a black guy versus a white guy, you go with the black guy. If it's a white guy versus an Asian, you go with the white guy. Here's the tricky one. Asian versus black. Asian.
Really?
Yeah, they do. They trick them.
Really? So that's why
And
you're
there's a
going.
lot. So then
How'd it hold up?
we 3 for 3. And then with women's fight, it's just whoever's uglier.
Yeah, true.
Guaranteed money every time.
That's actually that's a good,
Yeah.
that's a good system.
Went 3 for 3 last night. Black dude pounded a Norwegian. Hot chick broke her arm in the first round. Like right away, this hot chick. She was fighting some lesbian from Australia.
Good luck,
with face
dude.
tattoos. I was like, oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
And then the final fight was a Asian versus a white dude.
What
And
do
the
you,
white dude just fucking
pummeled
housed him.
and you think Asian dudes will beat up black dudes? in
Yeah,
these
they'll
fights?
trick you in UFC.
I can see that.
They rarely get to fight, but when they do, the Asians.
That's true. Oh. I think a lot of the black fighters have a lot of respect, a lot of like
They
Wu-Tang
have too
based
much
respect for
Wu-Tang
the,
respect.
for the Asian fighters.
All right, so that was my weekend. How about you?
What the fuck did I do? I didn't do shit. Oh, I worked. I worked all weekend.
No, nice.
Yep. I worked at my parents' house, stripped the wallpaper,
Nice.
and was talking to my man Spade all weekend.
Spud
It was a
man.
Matt and Spud Man operation.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck. I didn't even get to talk about this. I fought people online all week about the Chappelle thing. Got to argue all week about that.
Yeah.
And I did not do myself justice. Because I would get hit with like a 3-paragraph response to it. And then each one was like, yeah, well, I guess I don't get offended, so I wasn't really thinking about that. And
People just burying you.
yeah, and I was just, I don't get offended.
See, I watched the first half of it, and I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious!" Because at the very beginning, if you're watching it, he's just saying like these women who are crying
Yeah.
about Weinstein. Then like you're weak, we're tough. But I heard at the end, that's when he starts letting off.
He starts
like, the
getting into it a
21
little.
gun salute.
But it's also, I mean, it's
I
what he
didn't hear
does.
it.
And I said it correctly the 1st podcast. I was like, I listened to it again because I was getting a lot of shit for it. And I didn't say anything wrong. I was just
Yeah.
like, it's weird to hear a guy, because it's not hard to say white guys suck or white people suck on stage. It's weird to me, though, when you say white people suck and black people are the best. That's when it gets weird. If you shit on both of them, it's funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my week.
Who's the one guy you always says that gives you a hard time?
Oh, on Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen.
Did he
stayed
chime
out
in?
of it. He just chimed in and was like, Jesus
Dude,
Christ.
I think what they should do with all that stuff, like I was like listening to stuff about like reparations and stuff. We have to
Yeah.
just figure out who had them, dude.
Who had slaves?
Who had the slaves?
Yeah,
dude.
we
just
did- we
figure
should.
out. Just go down. They should be like an ancestry.com thing, and it's like Norwegian, English.
Yep.
You also had them. Like fuck, dude.
Yep.
You
Now
got
you-
if you have a big like if you have a big inheritance and they found out you had them, you got to cough it up.
Cough it up.
That way, it's all out in the open. It's like,
then
bro,
you
I didn't
gotta-
I didn't have them.
Then you got to ancestry the black people and find out who were slaves.
That's true. But there's also black people who had them too.
Yeah. Well,
Apparently, I found out that
Jay-Z.
there was Jay-Z had slaves.
Yeah, he still does.
Donald Trump has slaves too, dude, and he has slaves.
Donald Trump definitely has slaves.
He had them. He has to give it up. But yeah, they should do that.
Well, that was the thing on Chappelle's show. They did the reparations.
Oh, yeah, they
thing.
did, which
What
was
would happen?
hilarious.
What would happen if?
And that was, yeah, exactly. Chappelle used to. One thing that made Chappelle's show so funny was he would make fun of black people, and white people were like, yeah, exactly. That's funny. But when they did the reparations thing, just
Yeah.
the black people got all this money and just wilded the fuck out. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
Like the stocks of like platinum quadrupled and like all this shit. It's
Well,
really
dude, it's funny because I think a lot of times if you get a black dude from the suburbs, they double down hard on black power
Yeah, they do.
because they're like, they feel all kind of weird because they go to the hood and everyone's like, yeah, you're from the suburbs. Then like there's black dudes in the hood, like old black dudes that love Donald Trump, which is hilarious. They're like, Donald Trump's good. So it's like, it's weird. They're like, how they're gauging all this like popular black response by like super educated dudes.
Yeah, for
Where
sure.
it's like, you know, it's like if you take the average Harvard graduate and it's like, well, I'm gonna represent white people, and it's like, dude, you don't represent fucking white people. You went to Harvard. There's like, you're like 0.1%.
I watched Obama on Letterman. Did you guys see that?
Was he on recently?
No,
Oh,
Letterman has like a Netflix thing where he's interviewing people.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was with Obama. And I was watching it, I was like, damn, dude. Obama was the fucking... He's so much better than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much better he... I know you hate that.
No.
bit.
He's a very good. He's eloquent.
He's so much better
Sure.
at that shit. And he's so much more aware of how to act.
Yeah.
Like if Donald Trump was on that would have been a nightmare.
Did you see the whole fallout from the shithole countries thing?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he said the shithole countries. He's like, why do you need people from these shitholes, dude?
Yeah.
And he's like, the best is his apology was so funny where he's like, my language is tough for sure, but I didn't say shithole.
Well, it's an accusation in a meeting.
And
That's what they claim.
And it's like he's racist for that, which I guess you could paint it that way if you want Norwegians instead of Haitians. But
Yeah.
his point was Haiti's a fucking shithole.
Yeah.
And I
Sure,
think
go
everybody here can agree that Haiti is definitely a shithole.
Yeah.
I don't think the people necessarily are.
Sure, you go to that
Shithole-ites.
country. I think it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Haiti? Yeah, probably.
I think Haiti is the
Yeah,
poorest.
they would have had a lot of money, but the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation
I know.
sucked it right out
Snagged
of them. Sucked it right out of their black French dicks.
Well, they're going to Canada now. And now, like, because Trudeau's super, like, liberal, everyone come in here. And now Canada's, like, facing the reality of being like, fuck, we can't have everyone
Whoops.
in here. Yeah, they're now, and it's starting to grow like the same thing as Brexit, where there's, you get those, they can be Canadians, dude, but they fire up those
how you
deep
get
fucking
that.
white jeans, and they're just like,
Dude. They're like, oh, we're so nice.
well, it's funny how
Come
Trudeau,
on in here, gang.
they're having to have to be like, oh, sorry, buddy, we can't have all of you guys.
Yeah.
Back to get your head chopped off. Sorry about that, pal. Here you go. We'll
Anyway.
ride you out in a horse. They like ride him out in a horse and like, well, here's where we leave you. Thank you.
Come back, though. Please come back.
If the prince doesn't cut your head off.
That's how the Muslims got up into Ottawa. Remember that rap group? I'm a Muslim man.
yeah.
They were up in Ottawa, dude.
True.
A couple muzzies chilling in Ottawa. That's odd.
Yeah, I'm fired
All those
up.
fucking Sens fans must be like, what in the heck?
Well, I don't know. It's such a weird dynamic because they're like the hardcore French Canadians. Are they like? I feel like they kind of just fire off. They're not really worried about how they look.
Yeah, I think there's two different distinctions. There's like the French, you would say, educated. Then there's the, or so to speak, you have the everyday, hardworking Canadian, like the like the Midwestern United States.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more Republican, and then you have New York City or L.A. I think Canada's a lot like that.
Whoa, so the French are like the cosmopolitans.
Definitely.
Like the more French areas.
Yeah, I don't really.
French liberals in fucking Montreal.
I think that's what it's like.
Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know if they were like way more hardcore, just kind of like fuck Muslims,
The French, no.
Canadians.
You
I
got
don't know.
like blue collar, and then more like
Yeah.
New York City or L.A.
I
I
got
think
you.
you go out to like Saskatchewan and then
Sure.
they're like, we got to get rid of these Muslims, eh?
I don't know what the dynamic is. I know there is just a bunch of weird French people. Who
I
just-
definitely have no idea what the dynamic is.
I think
but-
they're all double agents. I always imagine them as like real sneaky double agents.
All right. So let's get to
Yeah, the real
why
thing.
we brought Dano down here. So, first off, I don't think I ever asked you, why didn't you become a priest?
So it's a great question, and it's probably the question maybe that I get asked the most, or that is the most interesting, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think I grew up a lot like Shane. We all grew up in the same area, all our friends, and my family. By the way, I consider myself I'd use the term staunch Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And so for some people that is maybe politically incorrect, you would say, with certain viewpoints.
Well, to
I
be
might have.
religious.
Stay
Correct.
on the mic too.
To be religious, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a Roman Catholic, practicing Roman Catholic, and so as a kid growing up, I always I like the church. I love the church, and always appreciated church history and the mass and everything else. And you look at the priest, I think every guy kind of has this to a point. Maybe even you both. I don't know, because I know you're both Catholic. But you look at the perfect ideal of a priest is, a man, a self-sacrificing man who gives his life for the church. And there's definitely
like Father Chet.
Right. Yeah, so
you don't have to badmouth anybody.
Sure.
I'll do that.
But it's kind of like a soldier, or even like an athlete. There's that courageous, self-sacrificing aspect to it.
Yeah.
So I grew up, and I always liked the
Odell
priest.
Beckham.
For some reason, the first that came on was Andre Agassi.
Yeah, like a great self-sacrificing athlete like Andre Agassi.
It's funny how a lot of professions, there's like, I used to work in the labor union. They're like, we're the real athletes, and I was like, no, we're not at all, dude. Like, you just took 3 shots of Ciroc before work, dude. You're not an athlete.
That's like the old thing. Like, anybody who claims to be something else. Yeah. Like I remember the kids on the cross country team would wear shirts that were like, no timeouts, no fucking thing. It's like, this is a real sport. It's like, no, football's harder.
Yeah. You're basically prey. You're running.
Yeah.
You're just,
it's like rugby fags.
No, rugby's
Being like,
a real brutal
no
sport.
timeouts. This is a real man sport.
It literally
it's like,
is.
Well, no black guys are playing it, so it's not.
We had black guys playing it. We had a black D1 athlete playing.
Yeah.
Dude, rugby's a way more brutal sport.
You get those suburban black dudes playing for sure.
Nah, this guy was from Wilmington. But go on.
No, sure. So you have an idea. You have an idea of what the priesthood should be. And growing up, I always knew good priests. My aunt is a religious sister here in Philadelphia, in fact.
Philadelphia.
So, we always had priests come over. We knew priests. And so I always thought from a young age, maybe that's something I want to do. And I always kind of kept it to myself because
it's... Yeah, you don't want to tell me
there's
that.
an embarrassment to it, so to
Sure.
speak. Like I remember in high school, I was almost pretty sure, and I didn't tell anybody. Like I would leave football practice on Mondays my senior year and go get, and I'll get into this, but you have to go get psychologically tested.
Yeah.
They check, they screen you when I started. So it was after the sex scandal really broke. Okay.
Sure.
So
How did they screen you?
I'd go meet a
Showed you hot little
psychologist.
boys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they show you like a picture of a hot boy.
And just held your crotch and you're like, no boner, you're in, dude.
Yeah. I wish it was that simple, and then maybe we'd be better off.
Sure.
If it was that way. So
Yeah, how did they screen you though? For real, what did they do?
To be honest with you, I was 18. I can't really remember exactly. I know I went like 6 or 7 times.
Whoa.
And I was like to Coach Boger, I was like our high school football coach. If you don't mind, I gotta get out early every Monday for the next couple weeks.
Damn.
And I don't even think I told him what the deal was, but anyway, I'd go and guy would talk to you about your family. What do you think about this? Things. He just talks to you, talks to you like a regular guy. And he was so normal and so good.
Yeah.
Regular guy, and so there was no issue there, thank goodness. But there is and I'll get into that too, like I said. But there is a level of screening that is now done psychologically, which is kind of the way it should be. So I kept it a secret even up till the very end, and then because I was so nervous, I didn't know what I was really getting into. But my priest always said, if you give God years of your life, even when you're in college, I would hear our friends talk about going to play ball, or I'm going to have fun at this college, or get this career. It's like, what am I doing? And he would always say, if you give God years of your life, he won't waste them. Mm-hmm. And I said, sure. And you do get a degree. It's an accredited university, or college, I should say.
Is it free?
It is not.
Oh, wow.
It is not.
Really?
So I'm the youngest of 7 children. So you had to pay for it. So my dad helped out, and so there is that.
I'm glad you said that,
too.
because I you know how people talk shit.
Yeah, I didn't just get a degree on.
I remember
on
people
the church's
being like,
dime.
"Yeah, he's probably just going to get a free degree."
Well, when I thought about
$20,000 a year.
I was thinking
at that time.
I was thinking more like, that's a fucking great idea. If that's free, I'd advise everyone to start being a priest. And jump out.
West Point's free, and that still sucks dick.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
tough.
I
like
think
a-
seminary would suck.
I mean, I'll tell you
Boy,
that
dick.
Yeah, it might, dude. I don't know. What was it
the
like?
military academies actually draw their horarium from the seminary. So, for instance, you wake up, You have it's
There's
very
system.
regimented. It's very regimented,
Systems.
right? It's a
Yeah,
system.
it's a
Yeah,
system, man.
it's true.
So that makes
Now he's
sense.
speaking his language. Talking systems.
I zeroed right in.
So there definitely is that aspect, and it was nice for someone like me. I mean, I didn't give any effort at all in school. I mean, I just goofed around with our buddies. I don't think I was a bad kid in any way,
Yeah.
but
No.
you know,
I mean, how early into it are they like no jerking off? Is that like day one orientation?
I was just asking him that.
Yeah,
I went
so-
over to his house for dinner.
Really?
Earlier this
Yeah, how do they
weekend.
patrol that?
So
Is this no? Everyone's on NoFap.
right, and,
So it's
and
like real world.
And so the church's teaching is everyone's on NoFap. The entire world should be, right? If
Okay.
that makes sense.
Should
so
be.
so
You
Yep.
might slip up.
So it's like
You know,
the real
you're-
world, like 5 guys who don't come live together. What happened?
150 men live in one place.
yeah, and that's and
My
that's
dad was on NoFap. That's what happened.
What?
He's on
You
NoFap.
fucking
That's why he
splooges.
fucking wet dreamed hard.
Right before laser tag, dude.
I can't believe you put big pun on
I
a,
know.
on a name tag.
He didn't. He definitely would. He would never do that. His handle is the Gov. The governor,
So funny,
dude.
yeah.
And then that and Nick Eddy. Those are his 2 betting gambling handles. Nick Eddy played basketball at Notre Dame in like the 70s.
So is that his golden tee
That's
avatar?
dude, all that.
Yeah, so
Loves
take
Nick
us.
Eddy.
I am curious
So-
about this though. So you just rolled
So
up.
I went in. I joined. You know, you go in at in August, just like it's a regular academic year.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you go there, and you know the first thing I even knew this going in, and this gave me the most hesitation. And it's not to make myself seem like I'm special in any way, but there were a lot of guys not like me, not like us. You would say, like Shane and I growing up, and like you, Matt.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I'd say there
I
was,
keep cutting you off, but we've had that conversation a lot where I had the same thing at West Point. Like right when I got there, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not like any of these fucking guys.
What were they like?
Well, they kind of trick you a little bit because they take you, like for me, when I was getting recruited there, you would go out, like on a visit, you go get fucked up and like get drunk and
Yeah,
party,
yeah.
and it's like, sick, yeah, this is awesome. and then you get there and they are all, I mean, they were doing exactly what they should have been doing. They were fucking gung-ho about it. They were all like, let's fucking go.
and they're smart.
Yeah, and they were all smart. They were dorks too.
Right.
A lot of them are dorks.
They're all smart.
They were smart, and they were all in on being at West Point and being in the military. And I was, like, I think I've said this before, but like at boot camp the first day, I was like fucking around, and I was talking to the guy next to me while we were standing against this wall, and a drill sergeant heard it and was like, "Who the fuck is talking?" And the guy next to me was like, "He is." He fucking ratted me out right away, and I was like, "Dude, you are a fucking bitch."
That's a bad sign.
Yeah,
dude.
it was, the whole time was rough.
So what was it like at the?
At the seminary?
Yeah.
So it's tougher to explain in this sense, but you go in and so there's 150 guys, just about. I would say there's a handful of guys that remind me of anyone I've ever known growing up.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of guys are very bright too. Everyone there is very smart most of the time. I would say there's a lot of guys maybe who are like softer, quieter, and kind of nerdy. I would say. You have that going in, so you have a lot of guys are not like you, and that already is like making me nervous.
You're saying a lot of like soft, wormy looking dudes.
yeah, a lot of guys that
A lot of touchers.
Probably didn't have friends at all in high
True.
school. Probably
So- yeah.
never drank a beer. Probably
correct.
Yeah.
virgins.
That's the best way to explain it. Yeah.
No
so,
faps.
So, for instance, I remember guys would come up to me and say,
incels, dude.
we'd be in class, and then afterward, you you leave, and some guy would come up and be like, something, I just want to let you know that what you said in class really offended me. And it was like, I had no idea.
In
you know.
preschool, they're busting this out on you.
Yeah, guys are real sensitive in a lot of ways. So, yeah, it's just like some guys. I remember being like masculinity. Oftentimes, is an issue. I think it's an issue in the church today, as well as it is our country. I could argue. So anyway,
Oh, boy.
so you can get into it. But
So you were making the seminary great again.
I wouldn't say that at all. I would say there's a lot of guys in there that, to be very masculine, oftentimes made you different from some guys that they wouldn't even want to look at you or approach you.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
like going to an open mic.
I mean,
there you go.
It's like doing
it's what it's a
stand-up.
lot of like. Yeah.
in all
sure.
seriousness, how many of these dudes you think were gay who were in the seminary? Who were like,
I don't know for sure, but I would say
you might have been giving them the butterflies, dude.
no. That's the thing. They hate you.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So I would say guys, and especially guys I've met outside the seminary too, I would say people who tend to be have homosexual orientation
Yeah.
Ew.
don't like they don't like you. I mean, I guess there is an attraction with some, but I would say the way you are is not. I don't know if it's challenging them in any way, but I think it is a distaste for them. They shy away from it.
Do you think
I
it's
would
like
say.
incels when they see hot women? Or just kind of like, fucking
I don't
bitch?
think anybody knows what incels
Yeah,
are.
you didn't watch a thing. Involuntary celibates, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys didn't do your
Involuntary
homework,
self-
that's
I
your
watched
fucking
it too.
problem. Yep.
Oh, you
After
watched it?
Shane and I talked about it, I watched it.
So you had basically, so these guys were hating on you because you were just ramping up the
Well,
masculinity.
and it's a very small percentage, I would
Yeah.
say. But at the same time, like, not everyone's going to like you. You're around together all the time. You don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people may not like my personality to begin with. I mean, not everyone's going
What
to
were you talking about that would like get these dudes so hot on the
I
heels?
can't remember that exact instance, but it was definitely like, so you go to college. So I have a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the major's philosophy. So you take so many credits, you take science, math, you know, all those things. So it's a bachelor's of philosophy is what I have. Bachelor's of arts in philosophy.
Yeah.
Is the degree I actually have. Okay. But then as time goes on, major seminary, so that's 4 years, that's college. And then major seminary is theology, where it's more focused on church, everything with the church and how things go. Okay. The last couple years are more practical, you would say, where you prepare to be a priest physically.
Yeah.
Now, the whole time, mind you, it's all about how to. You learn about everything about the church. I mean, you learn what a priest is like, how to live like, you know, what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, from day one, you come in. Oh, so you got checked out by the psychologist. You get background clear. The first thing you do is you get background checked, right?
What's a no-go for a priest? Like, what kind of stuff? If you get, like, underage drinking, is that fine?
You
that's the
probably,
thing.
You probably had underage, right?
Yeah. So, so I was
thought
Okay,
so.
so that's fine.
So the big problem with me was, I remember I got one my freshman year of high school, and then during football my senior year, so it was during the process. So I was like, I went to my priest. I was like, Father, look, you know. And they said, well, look, it's all taken into consideration.
Yeah.
it's a citation. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
get
yeah.
arrested or anything. But I
You
disclosed
pigged
it
out on the church
thinking
fine, dude.
I had to disclose that certainly. But you get a background check, a psychologist checks you out, and so you go in, and then you have to take these, because it was after the sex scandal broke, you would say, in the church. So the church is trying to correct that. And I would say maybe not the best ways, in my opinion, but I would say they
What
are
are they
making
doing?
efforts. So we'd have to go to these courses, like child abuse. And it was
Yeah.
they're the worst.
Like,
God
these dudes
damn.
just
Like,
don't know they're molesting kids. They're like,
I
oh,
watch
fuck,
a
that's what that's
video,
called?
and it's like generic too. It's meant for like anybody. Like, you're going to coach sports. Everyone in the diocese has to take those. So if you interact with children in any way,
Yeah.
like I coached Pee Wee football for my hometown, a Catholic school, and
Yeah.
you have to do the same kind of thing. Well, this one was more in depth, so we'd have to go to these Saturday 3-hour video. Oh, it was terrible. You'd get a guy on there who was, I mean, it's not funny, but he's like, looks like an alcoholic, unshaven, like, who was a truck driver, who was like a
Strike
mall
one.
Santa
Yeah.
at like a skating rink. Like, it's like all the stereotypical.
Yeah.
And he's like unshaven, and it's this guy talking about how he abused 500 kids over the course of his life. And it's like,
He was a truck driver?
yeah, and it's like, is this what I am? Like, he looked like a drunk Steve Bannon. He, like, the Santa outfit. It was
Sloppier
like,
Steve?
Yeah, it was like
He was
like
a bad Santa, dude.
yeah. So you're sitting there, and it makes you feel guilty almost.
For what?
Well, you have to sit through these child abuse courses. It's like, is this what I am? You know, I'm just like a regular guy trying to figure it out, and yet
Yeah.
I'm confronted with this. So, and it's not to blame anybody, but
No,
at the
it's,
same,
I see what you're saying. It'd
You know
be
what I
like
mean?
it'd be like a police officer having to watch like
Police
Right.
brutality, yeah.
police brutality every day, and it's like, wait, I'm not doing that.
sure, and then you go out, and some people, you know you're in Philadelphia. They have a tough time. They've had a tough time with the church and sexual abuse. And so, you know,
What do you mean by a tough time?
the archdiocese has had
They had a lot.
many priests accused and convicted.
How many do you
of-
think were guilty?
I don't know any of the numbers.
Oh, okay.
But I know morale is very low in Philadelphia.
Morale is low.
I mean,
Philadelphia's
dude,
tough. Boston,
You
Philly,
you remind me of when
they're-
I tried to become a realtor and the real estate market bottomed out. Literally, that's what happened. I was like, being a realtor was sick, and I was like, oh fuck, the market bottomed out. But if I joined a job and then like it's like, oh yeah, a lot of these guys are molesters, I'd be like, oh fuck. So
Yeah.
I would be worried about that. I'd be like,
mean,
man, they better
I-
not think I'm a fucking molester.
So the whole thing, though, is, you know, the church saying, okay, well, we got to comply legally. We want to fix this. We're showing everything we can.
Yeah.
And so the state says, okay, we'll do these things. Like a program's gonna.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, if you're a celibate man, and this is my opinion, and I think this is accurate. Okay.
Okay.
If you are not having sexual relations with a woman or deprived of that in any way, automatically you don't get attracted to kids. I mean,
Okay.
you know, if you're a married man, you're meant to be faithful to your spouse. Okay. And there's times in a marriage where you don't have sex, maybe for years, perhaps. You know, let's say your wife's pregnant, you're older, all these
heard
different
that.
things, right?
I did it.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what do you do? Oh, that kid's looking good. That's not how it is. You know what I
No.
mean? I think the bottom line is there's a core issue with that person, and they are not right. I mean, to be sexually attracted to a child is not normal.
Yeah, so you're
clearly.
saying it's not a result of the celibacy vow.
Not at all.
right.
Not at all. I think it's
Isn't
the guys
Francis,
that are in.
Isn't Francis trying to get priests to get married?
So the celibacy in the church is what's known as a discipline, okay? And there's so the Catholic Church is made up of many rites or traditions.
Yeah.
Roman Catholic being the biggest and just one of them though. There's Ambrosian Coptic, like your
Yeah.
he's
What's-
Orthodox.
How
but-
many times do you get caught having sex as a priest before they're like, dude, get out?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it.
I will say this. I'm sorry to
Go
totally
ahead. Go ahead.
but I've seen a lot of priests, and it doesn't seem like it's that hard of a discipline for them to be celibate.
And that's the other thing.
You don't
I
think
a
so?
lot of those ugly boys.
So it
I don't
Dude,
think
you
it's
still wanna
attracts-
come, though.
I
attracts
don't
a
think
certain
they're
type
beating
of
off
guy,
chicks with
perhaps.
a stick.
Right.
I don't know.
Now
Preacher
I will
man,
say, there are. I mean, I've heard many stories from priests about women stalking them or coming after them,
Yeah.
and they look
It's because they're on the mic, dude.
right,
Exactly.
and they're untouchable. You would say,
Yeah.
So let's say a woman who's having marital issues, whose husband's a bad guy,
Dude, you're getting me
comes
hard.
in,
baby.
You're literally getting me hard.
I'm
Stop.
hard as fuck.
No,
You're
go
talking
ahead,
about-
please.
comes in,
talking
and
about-
then you counsel her and you show her
Your dick.
compassion or compassion and and sincerity.
Yep.
And then she doesn't get that at home. Well, there's an emotional attraction.
Yep.
So you have to distinguish those things. So sometimes when there's an attraction, it's not love. It's an attraction. You know?
Yeah.
So priests have to deal with that certainly, and that's why you have to have a strong prayer life and
Jesus, yeah,
and
back
you need
that
to
off.
have definitely boundaries, especially more than ever. Like the other thing was the other part of those courses you had to go through. Half of it was don't get accused of this, and here's how not to. Don't
what
go
were the
any.
steps?
Don't have a kid in
In
a
a
closed
room by
door
yourself.
by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously.
That's a good rule.
Don't have a window in your door if you have to close a door. Things like that.
Yeah.
Don't ever be alone with a youth and an adult, because all it takes is someone to accuse you.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have to be. I mean, the two things I've heard recently of a priest, and obviously I won't say them, and it's not a public thing and shouldn't be, but there was a well-known priest whom everyone loved, who's an older man. He was in his 60s, 70s, and was in the sacristy before mass and told like a 17-year-old kid he had a nice haircut. And the kid told his parents, and the parents accused this priest of
Trying to
sexual,
start it up. Yeah.
being inappropriate, and it went all the way. I think legal action was taken and was thrown out. But regardless, it's like, I mean, what do you do at this point? And,
I don't
there was
know,
another
yeah.
story about a guy who was a seminarian and was a teenage girl at a fax machine said that she felt he was being inappropriate with her, And it's like there were like 10 people around. I don't know. He's just talking, and this guy is the harmless kid. He's a kid, and there's a girl that he's probably just talking to her. He's out of parish. He doesn't know anybody.
He told her she had a nice haircut, dude.
Yeah, right. I mean,
you ever
like,
put your tits on the copier?
oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
So there's that. I mean, the whole thing is you got to have witnesses, things like that, and that is a big part of it. Because
that happened. I was at the state. I was working for the state when the Sandusky thing happened. And all the laws that came out after that of like if you're going to teach or coach or anything like that, it was the same thing. It was like you're not allowed to be in the room one-on-one. Yeah. Which is it sucks, but it's kind of necessary.
No. It makes perfect sense. And like even now, like don't for you guys, for me, for anybody, you have to follow those same guidelines. Yeah. Just with the priest, it's heightened scrutiny. Yeah. Now,
deserved heightened.
Exactly. And
that happened to me recently. I was during Christmas. I went to my girlfriend's family in Chicago, and I was at her cousin's house, and her little cousin's like 7. He's like, "You want to play Wii with me?" He's like, "It's in my room," and I was like, "I'm like, yeah, you should ask your parents, bro." I was like, "I'm not just gonna go in there." So they're like, "Yeah, go play with them." Then he was like, "Let's play Michael Jackson." There's like Michael Jackson experience. I was like, "Dude,
God.
let's play Wii Sports, bro. I'm not playing the Michael Jackson experience with you right now."
Oh my god,
it's terrible.
It was funny when I was in Spain when I was leaving. One of the students came up, and it was a little girl.
Yeah,
she's probably in like 3rd grade. She was like, "I'm gonna miss you. Here's my email."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, perfect." I didn't even think about it. Oh. And then another teacher was like, "What the fuck are you doing with that?" And I was like, "Oh fuck, dude, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, take it. Get this shit away from me, dude."
Out of here, dude.
And that's the other thing. I know priests experience this, and even I did to a point. But there's some people who love priests, and for good reason. And their kids come up and give you a hug.
Some of the best head.
And they're waist high. And so the bottom line is don't initiate a hug. If someone reciprocates, or if someone does that, you reciprocate. There's all these like weird guidelines the bottom line is
side hug.
Always line up your nipples when you hug.
You can side hug those little kids.
So the bottom line is a lot of it's common sense and a lot of it's not being a creep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down. And that's the whole issue here is what it boils down to. So I just want to be on the record too, and this is for anyone who may be in questioning anything about the church, but it's like the priests who abused young people, there's no excuse for it in any way. In fact, it's a million times worse than any other profession, you would say. A teacher, a coach, which there are many of those too, mind you. But when a priest does it, it's that much worse because the level of trust and what he stands for and who he is.
Yeah.
If you believe who the priest is according to the church, I mean, it's the worst thing you can do. One of the worst things you can do. On
probably.
This earth. And now I could say maybe what I think part of the reason is, and this is kind of a hot button issue with the church, and it's not politically correct to say even within the church, let alone society, but there are
kids.
Many. There's many. There's many. The majority of abuse cases happen with males who were adolescent. So the majority of them were with post-pubescent boys. Okay, so it borders on the line of homosexuality.
It's not pedophilia.
Correct.
It's
whatever that term is. There's a technical term.
Oh, so they're saying they're abusing like 17-year-old boys?
Well, yeah, like the whole thing is
there's grass on the field and they're playing ball.
Right, and even if and let's say the kid's let's say there was like a 5-year-old kid. The fact that you are touching a child, there is a homosexual action in that because he is a male. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
but,
I mean, granted, you're in the left field. You're in like another world of crazy.
But yeah,
you're saying that it was gayness. But
most of the cases, from what I understand, which isn't talked about,
was the gays.
Most were boys that had gone through puberty.
So if the kid is jacked, there's a case of jacked kids.
Yeah, like going camp, like these weird priests who's a weirdo, taking teenage boys camping. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like that's insane.
That's still tough. That's a tough qualifier to be like. Well, some of the boys were 16. It's like
yeah. And also, it's you're right. It's
not. But it's different. It's a different thing.
It's not PC because the church, you guys don't have the best relationship with the homosexuals.
No, and
it looks like you're kind of like, it's not us, it's the gays within our ranks.
Exactly. And
The evil gays continue.
sure. And here's my thing with that. And I understand how that could be
But
perceived.
you're right. I hear what you're saying because
I mean-
the kids, it's not pedophilia if he's past puberty. By what
it's called
that
something
is.
else. Yeah, I forget what it is.
It's called being fucking gay, dude. Don't bring that shit around.
Well, no, if
here.
you're 16, it's still statutory rape.
Of course.
Gay statutory rape.
Legally, it's wrong, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a tough thing.
no, dude.
And like, are there homosexual priests with the orientation? Definitely.
I'm pretty sure like every
I'd
priest
say like
I met,
40%.
Yeah.
Well, there's an old joke. This is kind of off color, but it's like, well, if the church got rid of all the gay priests, who would say mass?
True.
Like there was I remember hearing that. But
And then beating the fuck out of whoever said that to you, dude. You're like, I'm not gay. Dude.
well, that's the thing. It's like, and then you go to the seminary, and there's guys that give off all the typical homosexual characteristics.
Like what?
Right?
Like they love show tunes.
They go to Broadway shows. They're just.
So you were the young
extremely-
pope, dude.
They're extremely effeminate, and effeminacy
Is a
according to our
sin.
standards is a lack of character. Woo! So you could say that.
Damn, Catholic Church
Yeah,
is
so
nutty.
I mean, I don't know. The way I think about it always is, and I always thought about it, and I still do. There's a lot of similarities between being a father and a priest, and there's not. That's part of the reason why we call a priest father. But you know, a father of a family can't be this soft guy. You know, that's maybe has more selfish tendency. You need to be selfless, sacrificing, and so those characters come down. I mean, you think about who are the most self-sacrificing people. It's not to say that homosexual people with that attraction can't be that, but you know what I mean. There's a certain like lay your life on the line type of deal. Like a father of a family has to.
Like Harvey Milk.
Oh my gosh!
He laid it all on the line.
Well, that's
So
the
how are
thing.
they going to get all the gay people out of the church?
Out of the church? I mean, we don't get gay people out of the church. I mean,
Yeah.
what you say? What I would say is, let me go back to when I was entering the seminary. So there's church documents that say these things too. Not all the
Don't
things
be
I'm
gay.
saying.
Psalms
yeah.
14:5.
Psalm 69, dude.
There's a document after the sex scandal, Pope John Paul, and I think he caught a lot of heat for this. He would say, those with deeply rooted homosexual tendencies should not be admitted into the seminary. Okay, so the Latin term is gravitas they use on the document. That means deeply rooted tendency. So
nice.
so let's say you had, if you had you
Bracelet
thought
on?
you were gay at one time, and I don't know, that's not it's like a phase.
Are
you
they
would say.
asking these questions in the interview? Or are they like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do they try to sugarcoat that at all? Like, are they less blatant?
I can't remember.
Because
But
if I was gay at
Yeah,
one point, and then I
no.
was trying to become a priest, and they're like, "You ever think about
Sucking dicks?
dongs?" I'd be like, "What?
No way,
Ew.
dude. I would
Ew.
fuck-
I mean, like I said, it's what
I
the,
only love pussies."
I mean, it's an awkward thing because you can't be like, you're around people, you're like, pretty sure
mean,
these guys are gay, but
yeah.
yeah.
The other thing that comes into play is, so the church is all about authority. So Christ and the apostles, and they had authority, and so and they were, the tradition is they were celibate themselves, and that's where the tradition comes from. Christ was celibate, the apostles were, and so forth. Okay, now the church gives that to their priests, where other rites do not. So the Coptic Christians can marry. Now there's a distinction to be made. Bishops always have to be celibate because it's you more closely resemble Christ.
So the higher up you are, the less you can come.
Right. So there's no comment. So,
pretty much.
I mean, if you put it that way, we call it gravitas. But if you want to be a dick about it, yeah.
That's awesome.
So I don't know. I lost my train of thought. But the bottom line is, I lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
You're saying the higher up you go, the more is expected, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the priest is meant to resemble Christ, and so Christ was a celibate man. Now, the priest has intimacy, you would say. So he has relationships. People call him father. I mean, that's an intimate term, you would say.
Yeah.
Mother, sister, brother, father, and so by not having to be in an intimate relationship with a woman, he's instead able to be a part of every relationship. So that's a practical aspect.
Yeah.
And theologically too. I mean, there's many reasons why the church
Yeah.
supports that.
Well, they'll quit too. If you have a kid, you're like, well, fuck this. I'm just gonna get a job.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, oh, my kid's sick, or do you say Matt? It's like, it's kind of because the priesthood's
Conflict of interest.
The priesthood's a vocation, not a job.
Yeah.
So it's a state of life. So there's married life.
Yeah.
And
You're a
and,
shepherd of, and one of the sheep can't be your fucking kid.
Correct.
Or you'd
That's
only
the thing.
care about that sheep.
So even in the East,
But you
there's
gotta fuck some other
in
sheep.
in the other churches, they do draw a line where it's not, you're not as much, they acknowledge that it's not, celibacy is favored. Let's put it that way. It's more favorable to be celibate. So
in Catholicism.
in any sacramental, so the Orthodox, Catholic, any of the rites that
What
entail.
about Protestants?
So Protestants is a whole different deal.
You
They have
fucking
nothing.
hate Protestants, don't you?
I think
you can't say hate.
I think they're in error. I
Hell
would
yeah.
say. I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong I think they're wrong on the grounds, and there's historical and traditional. And
How long were you in the seminary for?
I was in a total of 6 years.
How many times did you come?
Oh, that's
That's a
a hot.
tough,
That's a
6.
every year, yeah. On St. Valentine's Day.
So the idea is that no one should be doing it, because
patron saint of
sexuality
cum.
is so special and so good that
Yeah.
it's meant for something. It's meant to share a relationship with the intimacy with a spouse.
I agree with that. I do
right?
agree with that,
And,
yeah.
and there are practical aspects to that too, right? Like
Yeah.
you're more focused. You're not this.
Yep.
It can lead
You're
to
nice to your girlfriend.
it can lead to some deviance, you would say, if it gets
What,
becomes a problem.
having it all in?
No, not doing that.
Yeah.
you can.
having it build up, it leads to deviance.
That can lead to deviance too.
Okay, see, I'm talking about like if someone is habitually masturbating and looking
That
at
can-
pornography,
yeah,
you
I'll
get
tell you
into
what.
some weird stuff.
No
I'll tell
doubt.
you what,
No doubt, bro.
All this Catholic dogma, it's lining up perfect with all of Matt's theories.
Matt,
on,
maybe you should be a priest.
I would kill it as a priest. I can't be a man of the cloth though.
You'd have to fix everything. You'd be good. I think it's for you.
It's true.
Here's a question, because I was just thinking of Matt being a priest. Now, you're allowed to drink a little bit as a priest, right? Being hammered is wrong.
So for the priest, he's a public person,
Yeah.
but the same rules apply, so to speak. The church teaches. I mean, first of all, the
Jesus
churches,
drank.
yeah, Christ drank. Christ is known for
Sipping
either
on some
teaching
wine.
people or going to parties. That's all he did. Okay, you
Yeah.
could say in the scriptures, and it's explicitly he made water into wine, right? At a
Kind of
wedding.
sounds like a dickhead, actually. Anybody that I know that's like, hey, this is how you should live, and then all he does is go to parties,
Party
I'd be like,
time.
all right, string his ass up.
Well, I mean, the parties were, teaching in and
Yeah, I
of
got you.
themselves.
I'm not-
But yeah,
He wasn't going to raves.
Hookers,
Sure.
dude. It might
He
have been.
was. He had some hookers. He was like, yeah, we need more wine.
We
Let's
need
turn
bread.
the fuck up.
people accused him of that, though. He was a drunkard and a womanizer.
Is that what the Romans and the Jews said?
Yeah. There's a lot of accusations.
here's one.
that he
You-
hung out with prostitutes and drunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Right?
you're
And
if you're
and
fucking
and
if you're in the
tax
barber shop,
collectors?
dude, you're
No,
more likely to get a
if I
haircut.
did that, people would not like it, but Jesus did it.
It was
if I was
chill, it
just
was chill back then.
Chilling with drunkards and hookers all day.
Yeah, that's what
That
I'm
would
saying.
be frowned upon.
If you're in the barber shop, dude, you're going to
See,
get a haircut.
This is
man.
lining up to your dogma again, though.
What?
Hookers.
This isn't my
chilling with some
Veritas.
hookers?
Is that my Veritas, dude? Or my
Gravitas.
My Gravitas? No,
My
I'm,
dad launched a fucking gravitas into those dungarees. But so you disagree strongly with the Protestants, but you're cool with the Jews. You think the Jews are all right?
I mean, here's the thing. I would say there's two different ways to look at it. I mean, Protestants are Christian in error. Okay.
Yeah.
Jews have not accepted Christ as the Messiah. So that's how you do it. Now, what I like about Judaism, though, I mean, the church is started from Christ was a Jew. The apostles were Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. All of them. And so a lot of our things are Jewish. So we have the Jewish scriptures. We have everything the Jews did, basically. What Pope Benedict always said, I always like this. He said, when you see a Jewish person, you can see physically the promise of God to the world. You physically,
What's that mean?
it's a manifestation because they're the chosen people. So it's the promise. So their heritage all the way back,
But they're usually hunchbacked and have claws. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know that there was a lot of Jewish people near the seminary, strict
Oh, you were in
Orthodox
Ardmore,
Jews.
yeah.
Yeah, and
They used to spit through the fence at you guys.
they didn't like us. They didn't like us.
It was like Space Invaders.
It was
you guys
tough.
had old Jews crashing into the fence of the seminary.
The seminary was kind of wild. You had like a wealthy neighborhood. You had Orthodox Jews. You had West Philly.
Yeah.
And then you had college kids in the seminary. It was like a complete mix all at one spot.
like a sitcom.
It was wild.
That is pretty nuts.
The only difference is we didn't really get out much. So.
Yeah, and then there's just a mansion of dudes holding in cum. It's just a gated off area
Well,
where dudes are like, oh, fuck.
What stinks is like, what was hard for me was you'd be around guys maybe that aren't like you, and then and it's tough. You're trying to figure everything out, and I love the seminary. I did, and I have a lot of still good friends, both who are priests and who are not priests. But then you'd leave, and we'd go home on Thanksgiving break, and I'd go to a party, and
you'd show your ass.
And like I'd be like, this is fun, and people would treat me the same. Gil's gonna treat me the same way,
nothing changed.
And
I'd give you shit.
oh sure, but whatever. That's the other thing. I can't tell you how many times people called me a pedophile or whatever.
Yeah, that would stink, man. I'd
like
hate
how
that.
many times I could
hate
say that,
that.
and you just say,
No, I'm not.
But I do that to
you
Penn
You
State
say,
fans.
nah, you are. I know I am, but I know what I am, but you
Yeah.
are, whatever the thing is.
I know I am, but whatever you are.
What do you think? I mean, I predict the Catholic Church is going to go into a period of remission for like 500 years.
We definitely are. You could argue on the decline in many ways. So now the church has been in rough shape throughout its history in many different areas. I mean, every historical time brings its own challenges, you would say. I mean, yeah, it's looked pretty bad before. And it's looked pretty bad. I think there's a Protestant author, I forget, in England, and they hate the church, always have. And there's an adage, the funeral pyre for the church has always been ready, and the whole world's been circled, and everyone's ready to go many, many times, but somehow the match doesn't get lit. It never, for some reason, the church has always seemed like it's backed into a corner. It somehow always makes it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
But definitely is a more unique time, and people are. And it's almost a good thing in a certain sense because
that
kind of straighten things out a little bit, maybe.
Sure. That Sam Harris Shapiro podcast I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about Judeo-Christian virtues and like free will and all this shit. But one thing Sam Harris was talking about, and it's kind of interesting, is like modern, like religion was always able to geographically stay in regions because they didn't really talk to the outside world. So they're like, yeah, we're Hindu, we're right.
Right.
Yeah, we're Catholic, we're right. We're Muslim. Hello. And they're going to kill you and be like, no, you're Muslim. But now that we've got the internet and globalization and all that, like, I mean, travel, everybody, like, now you're starting to be like, wait, are these guys right?
Sure.
It's like, what about, like,
Yeah.
Religion's kind of.
Now, what I like about Christianity and, was able to spread to all different cultures. See, what the difference is with Christianity, I think I could say Judaism, I know for a fact Islam, is it's a political, it's a societal and political laws in addition to being a religion, right? So Sharia law is the law for Islam, for the religion itself. Christianity doesn't have that. I mean, Christianity's been able to exist in any culture and arguably government, right? You can live in a socialist, even communist, it can survive technically, capitalist, and all these different.
Well, what's the give unto Caesar?
Right.
What is his?
Yeah, the Pharisees came to Christ and they said they're going to trick him, right?
Yeah.
And
The Jews.
yeah.
The Pharisee Jews.
Is this when he flipped the tables?
Yeah, that's Matt's favorite story in the Bible.
I think it was a day or two before. But they gave him a coin, and they said, what do you think of this? And it was either he says
What do you
yes.
think of this coin?
Yeah, so it had Caesar's image on it, and it said, so if the idea was, if he said no, this is not good.
Yeah, then speak out against the
Then you
Romans.
speak out against the Romans. If you say it does, then you are not for the Jews. So they thought they had him, and he just said, "Look, whose image is on that? that's Caesar's. Well, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. So the idea is that you
Then
can.
he grabbed a beer bong and fucking chugged wine.
He's like, get these fucking hookers back in here, dude. Get these Jews the fuck out of here. Turn
He's like,
the
dude, I
fuck
can't
off."
believe I just thought of that like that. That was crazy.
I keep doing that. I got a bad
that's
feeling
a
about
crazy
this, though. I keep fucking talking out of my ass.
Yeah, then he was.
I always thought he
crucified,
got,
I think, 3
bullied.
days later. I think that was like one of the last straws.
I always thought he just got like bullied by like Peter and another one of those guys. Like, yo, go tell that guy you're the son of God. And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't
Like,
want to
either
do
that or
it.
you got to do another butt chug. And he's like, all right, sick.
Fucking just took his hair behind his ears. Like, all right, man, whatever.
So the idea is that you can. It's just to pay your taxes,
Yeah.
right?
And you can be
So-
Christian and you can respect the state.
Correct, absolutely.
Whereas Islam
Can't
it's
exist in
written
a
out
democratic
saying
society.
that you can't have a government other than Islam. Right?
Technically speaking, yeah. So that's their belief system, and there is a law system entwined with Islamic culture. I mean, so that's why you go to Saudi Arabia, and there's no booze, right? Because that's what Islam says. Well, that's their laws, right? Where now Catholic Christianity has certainly influenced laws, and we would say for the better. For instance, the church started university, so learning, you would say. So every college basically comes from the church. They
Where?
teach
In America or?
the university system as we know it comes from the church, from the Middle
Oh,
Ages. You would say, the big thing was like consent, and when you find someone guilty of something. So, is it a crime of passion? Things like that really came about in the Middle Ages, where to figure out who has culpability when doing an action. So it's kind of interesting in a lot of ways.
So
But-
you're
but
saying the world's legal system comes from
the
the
Western culture is
Yeah,
extremely is from what we would say. Some people coin the term. I think it's nice. Athens and Jerusalem. So
Yeah, that's what they were talking about.
Reason influenced by faith.
Yeah.
So don't kill people. Why? Well, you can see on a natural level it's bad, and then if you take another aspect, there's faith involved. So that person has rights from God. Well, it makes it even that much worse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So on that level, it makes things. That's where we have our Western laws. So like liberty and those different things. I mean, I don't know. That's it's a very Western thing.
When was the Magna Carta? Wasn't that
1215.
okay? And that was before the Protestant Reformation was in like
Protestant Reformation started in
16th century?
1517.
Yeah.
Martin Luther, Halloween, October 31st. That's when he started to publicly. Now there were guys before him, and there were always heresies in the church.
Yeah.
But they were
So
caught on like this.
The Judeo-Christian, the Jerusalem Athens
Sure.
way of thinking laid the ground for British law. What's the word for that? English common law or whatever.
Yeah, right. Where it released. I mean, yeah, it influenced that. You could say
Like
some
human
people,
rights.
Some people say negatively. Some say.
Probably the fucking Protestants.
I don't know enough about it, but it took power away from the king. Is the idea?
Yeah, and then he
Gave
was
it
like,
more to
"I'm the fucking pope."
right. So
yeah.
So you could say the Western world as we know it. And what I like about, I mean, if you look at Europe, you can bash, white supremacists, and you should. Okay, you should bash them. So like that guy Dairy Queen you're telling me about, he
Yeah.
probably hates us. But I will say this: there's a neat document where it describes Pope Gregory in the sixth century, and they had slaves. Someone had a slave. They weren't Christian. Come from England.
Someone had them.
So someone was. He found out they were slaves. They were trying to save these child slaves in England, and it was Protestant. They were before they were Christianized. So,
Yeah.
And he said these people look like angels. We got to help them out. We got to send missionaries.
Oh, that's
there.
not good.
So the idea was he's not white. Is the point? Like he was in Italy, and so the idea is that Europe composed of. I mean, it wasn't just white people.
Yeah.
Maybe as we know it now, they're all white.
Italians
but,
aren't white.
I mean, you look at Spanish, Italians,
So you're
Greeks.
saying
I mean, that was the
Gregory-
church. That was the church. They were Jewish people, Italians. I mean,
Well,
they're
hold on.
very
What happened
Mediterranean.
in the story?
I don't
Pope
understand.
Gregory saved slaves.
So they were.
He's like, he looks like an angel. Bring him to my room.
Let me see these angels. Very nice angels.
The big thing, like Saint Nicholas, like his story. Some people. Let me back up. There were. instances where people had like child slavery, and most of that's
Hell
sexual
yeah.
stuff, right? And so the legend goes Saint Nicholas would go at night and leave coins in the window, and it fell into the stockings, so the guy could give to these people instead of they would take his daughters into sexual slavery. I mean, that's a story.
Holy shit, that's
a
what
story
Santa
of Santa
Claus-
Claus.
That's why we put that's why we get Starburst in our stockings. So
our parents
sisters
don't
don't
sell
get
us into
fucking
a
sold
Yeah, I
into
mean
sex
that's where
slavery.
the tradition comes from.
Whoa.
So he was a protector of youth because he stopped.
fuck.
He stopped people from. Yeah, so he was the bishop of that diocese.
He
So,
was. But how did it turn into candy?
over the years. Yeah, you give a gift.
Sweeten the deal.
You give a gift. Yeah.
Well,
So-
if you're a guy who's willing to sell his kid for sex slaves to sex slavery,
An
and
old
someone
Saint-
gives you a sweet treat, you're like, let me suck on this.
Wait, where was Saint Nicholas
And think
getting all
about
these
that.
Saint
coins
Nicholas
from,
was
dude?
he's the bishop, so he has control.
Oh, so he's using the coffers in
Yeah,
the church
right.
to
For the
save
charity, yeah, for the poor.
little girls.
And the thing is, the great story about St. Nicholas in 325, Council of Nicaea, they had a big council. Hey, who's right on this? Is Christ God? Is
Yeah.
Jesus God? Is not? And it was after the Roman Empire legalized Christianity. And so there were bishops who were like tortured and guys. There's accounts of guys having no eyes and mutilated. And he punched Arius is the big heresy. He punched him he got fired up in the meeting, punched him in the face, fought him, just got all upset, got fired up, and like went at the guy. But anyway, the bottom line
Saint
is
Nick, I had no idea.
Saint Nick's wild. So the bottom line is the church to start off. I mean, it wasn't Britain and Ireland and Sweden and Norway and northern Germany for like the first 600 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was very Mediterranean, very not white, let's
Yeah.
say African. Ethiopia has some of the
Yeah.
ancient Christians, Iraq.
Yeah.
Aren't those like the oldest churches?
They're the
Those
oldest
ones
churches.
dug into the plateaus and
Yes,
shit.
yeah.
in
So think about it,
Ethiopia?
like Egypt. They're the oldest. They're older Christians. Technically
Yeah.
speaking, Ireland came along a little bit after.
So you're saying the earliest Christians were basically from the Middle East?
Correct.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. So
Like
like,
Jesus.
so that's
Yeah,
the issue
true.
now in Iraq is, it's not politically correct to say it, but, Christians are. I mean, they're getting the raw deal in Iraq and with the
fine
Islamic
to
State.
say. You can say that,
I mean,
right?
a lot of people don't like that, and
What, you
even
say the Christians are getting a raw deal?
I mean, we should help them out over Muslims. You would say they're getting
there you go.
That doesn't sound very Christian.
in taking in refugees. So they make up a certain population.
Well, that's why Trump
And
said.
so you take
in those
in a little more Christian.
Those
Right.
banned countries, if you're a religious minority, which is basically just like if you're a Christian,
Yeah.
Exactly.
because they were all Muslim countries,
Exactly.
then you're allowed in.
Yeah.
So that's the big, and I know from the statistics I think in Iraq now, I don't know about, I'm not exactly sure. I think they make up like maybe 10% of the population. But yet if you're a refugee, we only take in less than 1% of Christians, right? So does that make sense? So there's something to be said for that. We're the most ancient Christians on earth.
All right. So from a
so we're not
Catholic
taking them in.
Church standpoint, we should be helping them out.
Correct, absolutely.
But from a humanitarian
Nothing.
aspect, we should be
It's not
helping
even-
anybody we can.
It's been coined by our country as a genocide. A Christian genocide is going on today, and that was when Obama was in office. So
Yeah. That Muslim.
and yet
loved it,
nothing's done. So
Yeah.
there are. I mean, there's.
I mean, there's relief efforts. I know the Knights of Columbus gives money, and there's whole bishops there where they're like, "Hey, look, we're dying. We're not going to be around.
Yeah.
and we've been here since day one."
Yeah,
Okay?
my Coptic Christian brother-in-law is Egyptian, and every day I'm friends with him and a bunch of his buddies on Facebook, and like every day they're posting a different
Yeah.
Bombing, yeah.
bombing of Christians, and like even I think I could be wrong on this, but that mosque that got attacked like 2 or 3 months ago, it was like the biggest
Yeah, they
terrorist
put a
attack
bomb in the church.
in the mosque. It was a mosque.
Oh, okay. It
Who
was
bombed
it
the
was a
mosque?
Muslims on Muslims.
Oh, that's right.
But I believe, and I could be wrong here, it was because the church that got bombed was helping Coptic Christians.
Damn, so over there playing Bomberman, dude.
Yeah, they are.
They kicked the bomb into the mosque and it was like, doop, 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 doop.
Dude, those mosque bombings are fucking.
It's horrible.
brutal.
Horrible.
It's just people just sitting on fucking carpets, and somebody runs in and
Christ.
is
Sure.
like, "I disagree with what you're doing."
See, and that's the thing. I guess the most violence is Muslims versus Muslims. You would
course.
say. And,
Well-
and now, so yeah, it's a tough thing.
What about the Jews versus the Palestinians?
Oh, that's Team Jew all the way.
Well, I'm saying, but
Guaranteed.
didn't the
Yeah,
Palestinians get dogged by the Jews? So now you have the Palestinians dogging the Jews and the Palestinians dogging the Christians. It's like, yeah, squad up, dude.
What, us with the Jews?
I'm not squatting. I don't give a fuck. But I'm saying, like,
that was
it's pretty dog eat dog. Yeah.
And I just looked it up, and it's like the argument for a Palestinian state is kind of flimsy. So it's like they never really had a country ever to begin with.
But did they live there? That's like the Zuckerberg Hawaii thing.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg's like, well, you guys had land, but it was not on paper, and he took their land. It's like,
yeah, it was the Ottoman Empire until it was dissolved, and the British had the territory.
You know what I mean?
I see why they're pissed.
Yeah,
sure.
And I see
my
why
thing
the
is,
Jews
if you're
live there.
yeah, but I get it. But if you're Catholic and you're living somewhere, it's like, dude, you're in the fucking war zone, bro.
Right.
It's like, it's dog eat dog over
and
there.
Jews have it bad too, I would say.
I think it sucks to live there.
Like I think in France,
like pretty fairly, it sucks to live over there.
In France, I think there's less and less Jews. Jews are leaving that country in hordes, they say.
Yeah, Jews aren't really liked well in Europe before the Muslims came in there.
And they're not that's not a religious sect that wants to grow, right? Judaism?
Yeah, I guess you don't have Jewish missionaries. Yeah,
like Christianity.
It's a race.
Yeah.
So you could say it's a race. It's a unique Jewish.
It's hard to
Jewish
become
people
Jewish.
It's interesting. It's a race of people as well as a religion.
It's hard to become Jewish, and to become Muslim, all you have to do is say.
Go on YouTube,
you just have to say something.
Go on YouTube, pledge allegiance.
And here's the thing: I often my big thing was, and this is Protestants hate this, I think, but I compare Muslims to Protestant Christians. I think there's tons of similarities between the two.
How?
Between the religious structure.
How the people are, I would say. So you would say in evangelical Protestantism, all you have to say is, I accept the Lord Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior into my heart.
Yeah.
And they say that saves you at that moment.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're instantly a Protestant.
And you're instantly they would say a Christian, a saved Christian.
Do you have to get baptized
they
to
gotta
become
dunk
Protestant?
you in the water.
For some Protestants, you
ice
do.
bucket
For
challenge.
others, it's just a symbol of what you already did.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you don't got to get dunked in the
So
water.
not for some, it's not a requirement. You would say.
But it's the same thing with Islam, where you just have to say something.
Exactly. So both of them, and this is you guys say hot take. This is
a
bad.
very Catholic
People
bias
are gonna,
hot take.
So Islam is a book. It's based off of a book. Every word in there is what everything's based off of. So too is Protestant Christianity. They have sola scriptura. They have only the Bible, and that's it. Okay?
Yeah.
And they go off those words, and that's it. So it becomes an issue when, like, okay, well, how was the world created? Well, God created in 7 days. There were dinosaurs and people.
That's why
you know what I mean? And it's like a crazy thing. When really that book is just it's not a scientific book. It's not meant to be. It never was. It's just there's two creation stories in Genesis. Which one's real?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Science wasn't created until a millennium later.
Sure, and it's not meant to tell you. I mean, there can be truths in there, but it's a poem, really. It's what the church would say, a divinely inspired text that just happens to be it's poetry. You know, God created the first day, light. God, and it crescendos to making people. Anyway, and there's a lot of beauty. I mean, it's very it's deep and rich. But anyway, the point is, so they would say, "Oh no, God did this, and He had to do this because it's written here."
Yeah.
You know, and so too with the Muslims, they say, you know, this book was written.
Yeah.
And that's what that is.
So they're like pretty big Bible.
They're Bible thumpers.
Yeah.
Right. They're Quran. That's it. And if you, so just moving on. You know, you can't drink, right? Both of them are hard-lined, no booze.
Yeah.
Okay. They're very hard-lined on a lot of issues. So it's this or else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think when it comes to science too, you have a lot of that now. Now, some people would say stick up for Islamic countries, and maybe they do have some aspects of science, and certainly throughout the Middle Ages, there were a lot of stuff they did. But on the whole, I would say it's stunted. I mean, with
the Middle East,
correct?
Yeah,
what they're
and technology and science and different things. I mean, like you have people saying we had a flood because women aren't wearing veils.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's why God did this because
but no,
of that.
you're
it's
right.
Like, you know
you're right
I mean?
in that, like,
and like people would say God's punishing the United States.
Yeah.
Protestants would say because we have abortions.
Yeah.
And that's why the hurricane came. It's like the
the
same thing.
Baptists, the Westboro Baptists,
Right.
Yeah,
Let's
they're
put it that
literalists,
way.
yeah.
are
Yep. They would say God hates you if you're gay.
Yeah.
Right? With
What's the Catholic Church say? Like, he's just not chill with it?
God does not hate anybody.
Oh,
In fact, he loves them so much. We would say, I mean, we can get it. It's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, what is the official stance? Like, it's chill, just...
Yeah, this is politically incorrect. The church would say a homosexual action is intrinsically disordered. Okay. So that action is not what it's meant to do, and it can never be that. Whereas, let's say you have sex outside of marriage, it's not the best way to do it, but that action is still what it's meant to do. You're just not doing it in the proper context.
Yeah.
Right?
So you need to come into a vagina.
That's what it's meant. Our
Yes.
sexuality is meant for that. Now, there's a beautiful aspect to that. You know, I remember reading this nice article about pornography and different things, and it talked about how men are so are so image oriented. Okay, that image gets stamped in your brain, and that's why there's such a high instance of use of pornography and masturbation in men. That if you think about it like this, and this is what this guy was saying, I kind of think it's nice, but if you only see your wife on your wedding night, if you've never had sex with anybody, if you see your wife naked for the first time and you guys are intimate, like that's what's on your mind, and that's always like your wife.
You're
You know what I
supposed
mean?
to
Like,
jerk off to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
what I'm saying is the bond.
And I always do.
Same, dude. I can't wait.
You're so.
I get what you're saying.
you know what I
You're
mean?
not. Your mind's not been bludgeoned by images,
right,
and you see your
right.
naked wife.
And there's
What about
a
tranny
richer
porn?
love. That's bad stuff.
That'll get you, dude. That'll get you. That'll imprint your brain,
I'm
dude.
telling you, all your theories
When I heard
Well,
that,
what?
I thought
are good with the church, dude.
How do they fit? How do they fit?
Like your
Imprinting
theories.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All your theories are like what the church is like no fapping. T-porn
yeah.
is a depth of hell. Like, shit
It's just
like
bad.
that.
It's just confusing for people. I mean, if you're, my thing is, if your goal is to just be a cat about town, dude, fucking have a blast with all kinds of crazy porn. But
Yeah.
if you want to have like kids and stuff, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Well,
Kids
yeah.
fire T-porn on the
And I would
computer, and
even
it's just
say,
kind of
like,
like it's a tough thing to think
my
about.
it
God.
dude.
even affects any relationship you have, where everything becomes sexualized too. Like, you know, it's
It's just
heightened
bad.
sex-
It's just
yeah,
bad.
it's
It's
not-
just bad. You
it's
wake
not-
up in the morning and go, I'm gonna jerk off and watch porn. So there's 30 minutes of your day down the tubes, and then
5.
well, you got to pick the right vid, dude. You know, you're down there, you're edging a little bit, you're having a good old time. So it's a bad habit. You shouldn't come and you shouldn't see like a girl get a dick rammed down her throat at 7 a.m. in the morning before work. That fucks your whole head up, dude.
It does. I agree.
so what the church
Or right
is
before you go to
teaching.
bed.
The bottom line is sexuality
No,
is
right
so
before you go to bed, it's perfect. Then your dreams are clean. I don't have sexual dreams. I get all the demons out and then have a nice dream.
Dude, 4 porn stars in this year have killed themselves.
Probably because of the Protestants.
Probably Muslims and Protestants got them, dude.
All right. We are going long on this, but I don't give a fuck.
that's
But
fine.
I'll just say,
No, you're fine.
when it
No,
comes
yeah,
to
keep going.
homosexuality, homosexual attraction is not sinful, right? I mean, people
It's
have
how you're made.
emotions and feelings, and you don't know what you know. Some people have phases, like I said, or you know, all these different things. But the action itself is disordered, we would say.
Yes.
And sexuality is so good. One of the highest gifts that we have. It's so special that it has to be used for the proper context.
But
right?
squirrels have it also.
Right, we're what Aristotle would call philosophically, we're rational animals.
Yeah.
Right. We still eat, you know, sleep, you know, all the, you know,
How about
procreate, all those things.
what's the Catholic Church now? What's their stance on like hell?
Hell's real.
Hell is real. There's
Hell's a
fire.
real place. Yep.
But you can
I mean-
moment before just be like, my bad.
Sure. I mean,
I'm out.
Yeah,
hell-
but you can say my bad. I think it is if you mean it in your heart.
If I'm about to go to hell, I'll fucking mean it. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
In that sense, God's all knowing and would know if you're just being like, I'm afraid of my consequence, so now I'm sorry.
That's what everyone's doing.
hell,
Yeah, but I think God.
That's the point of hell, to make you scared of it and be good.
No, it's a punishment for
Wickedness.
thinking that way.
To what?
I mean, here, what I always think about on a natural level is,
But forever. He's gonna send you there forever.
Isn't
He's
it
not
like
gonna
you're
pop you
just-
out of hell after like a couple
nah,
days.
You're,
Be like,
you're there forever. Yes.
Exactly.
So what it is it's
that's tough.
it's the absence of God is what hell is.
Yeah, that's what I
It's-
was taught.
It's a place where God isn't, even though he technically is there insofar as he allows that to exist. But
Yeah.
you would say that's a place where your actions choose that you do not want to be with God. Therefore, there is a place for you. So God respects your freedom in its entirety, that he won't coerce you in any way. So you choose that. That's what we would say.
all it is. It's godless. You just go there. You can still rise in the ranks of hell then if you're down there. It's just,
I don't know how it goes down there. It's not good though. It's not a good place. So
see, this is where I have a big disagreement with the Catholic Church, because I've heard priests say that that's all bullshit.
And that's not right. I mean,
the classic Roman Catholic teaching, that's not right. But isn't the Catholic Church, one of the good things about it, it's supposed to evolve with what we know now?
Sure, and the church always has, you would say.
Yeah.
We've always that's the thing. We're not hardlined by a sentence in Genesis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not.
Like what you just said about homosexuality. I really doubt that 200 years ago, if you asked a priest what he thought of homosexuality, he wouldn't say your thoughts and what how you feel about somebody else. It's not your fault.
You could argue that. I'd say most likely they would be tougher on that. Now, the official stance is you never treat anyone. You always treat people with sensitivity, right? You're not going to be rude to them. Technically, we shouldn't. You're supposed to treat people with homosexual tendencies, with utmost respect. I guess what you're saying is, completely right. So I'll give you an example: suicide. There's a psychological understanding of what suicide is right now that's come about. So we've been able to understand.
So you guys aren't saying suicides go to hell anymore?
Well, no. We would say so. So the church says that's always a grave sin. So you're taking a life, which happens to be your own, right?
Yeah. You're throwing away the gift God gave you.
Correct. And you're saying there's no hope for me. I got to get out. Now, I will say having suicidal thoughts or anything like that. I mean, you look at the saints' lives. I mean, what the saints all have in common is they all suffered horribly, physically, emotionally, any way you can chalk it up. I mean, they all suffered just like Christ. I mean, there's writings there where I wish God would just kill me. I wish I could die.
Yeah.
Because suffering is so bad.
What do they teach? Do they teach people who commit suicide go to hell or no?
So the understanding is suicide.
This sounds like a yes. Sounds like a long way around a yes.
Technically, no, because you can't, you don't know. You don't know what the person experiences. So, for instance, if you commit suicide, right? Is your brain working properly? Are you able to freely choose that?
It's a crime of passion.
You could say, but did you some people choose it to a point, but are they coerced by medications? Maybe they take. I mean, we had a guy who passed away who came back from doing tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and was on 24 different medications. I mean, he wasn't. You're not in control of. You're not thinking right. So there is an excuse for that, so to speak.
Well, then in that case, every single suicide your brain is the one that's
true.
Like when dudes jump out the window in the World Trade Center, it's like, do they go to hell?
What's the thing? Are you burdened with suffering so much that you can't choose? I would say not everybody. I would say I would say a lot of people, maybe that is the case, yes.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is the church doesn't, so like you said, came with the times, so to speak. Church will always say that suicide is a grave sin, okay? Is it mortal? All these things have to be there. It's got to be a serious sin, grave. It's got to be freely chosen.
Yeah.
And you have to know what it is you're doing, too. So all those things have to be there. So, right, in a certain context, maybe not,
Do you ever get a sense they're just trying to, fill the seats? So, they have all these teachings, and then everyone's like, well, that's stupid. And they're like, yeah, no, you're right. So come on in.
No, I think they're... No.
I'd say it's a very reasonable...
Probably trying to find the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but where do you find...
If wrong...
So if you're like, all right, the world obviously wasn't created in 7 days, but if you're bad, you go down to fucking hell. And it's like, well, that's the same logic of being the world was created in 7 days.
I would say what I would imagine they say is hell is not a physical place, hopefully. This is what they say. I mean,
I'm thinking this is just stuff.
Yeah.
I think in my opinion, I think the church is just a political money machine, to where it definitely served a huge purpose, no doubt. But now it's kind of I don't know. I think it's more focused on just keeping people in and coming, keeping the money rolling. That's what it's been forever.
Yeah,
sure. That's why it's on currency. Because if you don't have if they put government figures and God, because if you don't believe in currency, it's it's null and void. If they put like pictures of like Archie Bunker on it, people are like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
So,
I don't exactly understand the whole statement you made. I'm sorry, I didn't. But I would just say, I mean, the church has always had money, you would say, okay, and a lot less than most people think. The argument is, why doesn't the church just sell all their treasures in the Vatican
And give it
to the poor? Right? I mean,
That's what Jesus would do.
Jesus also said, I mean, that's the thing. Like at the banquet he was
they
at,
give
right?
you some caveats here.
Okay, I'll give you this.
The Catholic Church is like, yeah, but then Jesus was like, keep your shit.
Well, no. I mean, there's a thought. So
art is sick.
the church is also the largest
Landowner.
and the largest charitable organization in the whole entire world. More so than the Red Cross. We teach more people, have more orphanages, more hospitals, and give more money than anyone else in the world. Okay. That being said, there is a certain aspect of, I mean, what the Vatican has too is they have cultural treasures that are priceless. And it's a museum, basically, and anyone can go and see those, right? You're not restricted. I mean, people go there for tourism because of the beauty. So you could say, to a certain extent, the church has just collected history, and you can go see it, right?
Yes.
So is it in the best interest to sell Leonardo da Vinci's whatever he has, manuscript or whatever, and give that to somebody? I mean, sure, but at the same time, you can it's like a custodian of it.
Like
So-
if you sell somebody the Sistine Chapel,
right? Like what can happen
you
to
could
it?
sell Donald Trump the Sistine Chapel
Correct. And what would he do to it?
and block it off and monetize it.
Yeah, or change it,
Or maybe
alter
sell-
it, or
What
you
about
know.
just little like artifacts and like pictures? Not the Sistine Chapel, but cut loose a couple.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough. I should
Because they
say on
could
that.
probably, I don't know. I don't know how much it's worth, but you think you'd be able to sell some of it and take that money and start a trust fund and like maybe cure world hunger?
Maybe. I mean, the,
Like I don't know if you have trillions. How much money do they have?
I don't know. I mean, it's can you put a price tag on the Sistine Chapel? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
not that. But that's like a big physical place. What about like
I
some
don't know.
original Da Vinci's?
I mean, the church gives away a lot of cash.
Yeah, that's true.
And more than anyone else in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will say, I mean, the scripture teaching that always is brought up is Christ is at a dinner and a prostitute comes and is begging him for mercy, right?
Yeah.
He's at dinner. And all the people there are like, oh, what's this guy going to do? This is a prostitute. Get her out of here. And she starts using, she spent all her money and had this like really nice oil and was crying and put oil on his feet, like it's a humility thing. And they said, and Judas was there and he was like, man, that could have been used to feed the poor. And Christ said, you'll always have the poor. They're always going to
Booker, dude. Don't be gay.
Oh my God.
It's like, God damn, I hate Judas, dude. Shut the fuck up. God, you suck.
He's like, you're wrong again. Like, you're always going to have the poor no matter what.
Yeah.
He's like, so, and the church says, we have certain beauty for everyone to experience. So, like, that's why our churches, things have nice, they're supposed to be artistically beautiful. Like, you walk into a church, like my church, it's traditional, it's, you walk in, it's not a regular office building. It's, the smells are different. Everything's different about it. You walk into a different world. And that requires,
But Matt's got a very Franciscan way of thinking, right?
Yeah, I'm a big
well
Franciscan
said.
dude. Yeah.
St. Francis
Francis
is the
would
man.
have said, sell that
Sell
shit.
it, dude.
Right?
Let's roll.
St. Francis would say, no, don't sell it.
He would have fed the animals, dude. He loves animals.
So,
I saw the cartoon.
It fed the wolf that terrorizes a village. Do you know that's St. Francis' story? There's a wolf.
He fed it?
Attack a village. St. Francis, he find wolf. He bring wolf back to city. He
We
say, be nice to wolf now. Now he is a saint.
We used to watch the cartoon things of the saints.
Yeah.
I remember Saint Francis was a young playboy. Then he
He
like
was.
got
He was
dizzy in the
wild.
cartoon.
His
he woke
dad
up.
was
and
real rich.
Yeah, he
St.
woke up. He
Francis
was
is
a merchant.
wild. Yeah.
St.
Yeah,
Francis
dude.
has cool shit.
He hit his
But
head.
How about
So what would St. Francis say? He would say there's a certain
Most likely,
there's a
here's
certain
what he
way
would
of
say.
living. There's all different ways to follow Christ, and that's why the church is encompassed by all these different things. So you can follow it like St. Francis, where you live poor and beg for food, or you teach in a university, right? All these different ways to do things, or you run a hospital. All these different things. There's nothing wrong with having money. It's not an evil in and of itself.
No.
St. Francis, he himself gave away things, but he understood that the church needs material wealth. The idea is that if you want to do that, you go follow like St. Francis, you can do that, right? St. Francis was not against selling everything off in the church. As a matter of fact, he built up a church and put nice things in it, you know? So I don't know, there's different schools of thought involved in how to be Catholic, and it's all up to what you want it to be for yourself. And it encompasses the whole thing. It's very diverse in that way. True, it's a lot of diversity.
How about this? Here's something that I've been thinking of. So, what does the Catholic Church say about communism?
Church is adamantly against communism.
Oh yeah, because it doesn't like religion. Usually.
Yeah, well, communism. In addition to that, communism. So, what it does is it restricts the human person. The human person is not able to fulfill its potential under communism. It would say, it's God-given nature. So, the church does not.
It restricts competition.
It restricts everything about you. Yeah. So the church does not endorse capitalism, but it allows it is a system where you can be free, right? You need to be able to live, okay? And you have gifts, talents, and achievements and different things. Let alone the way they look at the human person as just literally a cog in a wheel. I mean, that's what you are.
Yeah.
That's what you're seen as. And not even getting into any of the corruption, which is in every government, but
including the Catholic Church, yeah.
Oh, Catholic Church has a high level of corruption, certainly, and there's that sinful tendency when you are in control of a lot of stuff, to do those things,
I hear you. So, how about this one? I got another question.
Go ahead.
We talked about this a little bit. Was because I like Pope Francis a little bit, but we were talking about he's not doing enough to combat the pedophilia within the Catholic Church.
There's a lot of critiques about Pope Francis for how he's seen in the media today. Is the best thing that's ever happened in the Catholic Church. As a Roman Catholic, I respect the Pope. I pray for him, and the Church would also say the Holy Father. The higher ranked you are, the more you have to be on board. You have to be doing what you're supposed to do, or things might not. You might end up in hell. So there's an old adage, and I'll get back to Pope Francis in a minute. But St. John Chrysostom, I think in the 5th century, said the road of hell is paved with the skulls of priests, and the bishops are its signposts. So the idea is, they're held a lot more accountable than we are as lay people, he would say. So you got to pray. So that's why we always pray for the Pope. We respect him and want him to do well. Pope Francis gets a critique for being so revolutionary, one would say. Do this. He speaks off the cuff. He does all these things that maybe are less restrictive than what's perceived in the past. But a big critique is, why don't you gut all those guys who allowed all these issues?
Law.
Yeah, cardinal law. They gave him a funeral. It's a big critique, and the argument could be, certainly the church is politics. Certainly, even within the church, arguably it might be worse in other places. I don't know, but there's political factions involved in everything, and even that, I think he might be hindered by certain other political parties within the church. I think it's completely wrong. And if you think, my opinion of a priest who gets in trouble for touching it, I think it's the worst thing ever. They should be punished to the full extent of the law, if not worse, right?
Yeah.
It's the worst thing that they could do. One of the worst things. It's so much so that when I hear about a priest having an affair with a woman, it's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't a boy. You don't
ever hear, you don't ever hear about a priest having sex with above age women. No one even cares.
It doesn't make the news.
It's not a news. That's the other thing. Like, you want to look at people who are.
Society
as a whole is there's an issue with underage sexual abuse in our culture today. You would say.
Yeah.
The church is just harbored, and those guys there was a safe space for them. You would say they could get away with it and different things, and putting under the rug. It's not the best thing.
Yeah, of course.
I
say my prayers every night that the priests get above age pussy. Every night, I'm like, please let all the fathers just get a blowjob by
good beach.
Yeah, just please, man. Dude, I'm telling you, that's a recipe for disaster, dude. It's like back when you were in like 1200 and there was only like 150 people or 2,000 people you might have seen your whole life. It's a lot easier not to fuck around. But dude, there's a million people around Philadelphia.
Exactly,
that's a lot of stimulus, dude. And
the church would say, the big thing is, it's not meant for everybody, number one. And that's why you go to seminary, you figure it out. So that was my thing.
Why did you leave?
So you go to seminary.
That was the first question.
So you go to seminary, and it's to discern if that's what God wants for you, right? And God, if that is for you, God will give you the grace to be like Christ and be celibate, right? It's not to say it's not easy. In fact, it's harder. I knew a year before I left that God was not asking me to be a priest. I believe, and my confessor, my priest who I went to confession to and talked to, he's a good man. A Jesuit priest said over at St. Joe's, he would say, give it another year just to be sure. And so I did. It was a good advice he gave me, and now everything worked out quite nicely, and I'm very happy for the seminary and everything. But the bottom line is, I just knew. I knew I wasn't going to be. I knew it wasn't for me. In prayer, your practical aspect. It's just for you. And there's motivations for some men to become priests. There's always a motivation of there's a comfortable lifestyle. Yeah. Right? People you're provided for, your necessities are provided for. Ideally so that you can go out and serve. Yep. So you can go out and work all the time and be a good priest.
Get that funeral money too.
You get everything.
Funeral cash. I used to be an altar boy, dude. You'd serve an altar boy thing.
Yeah, no.
Serve a funeral, you get like $10.
The biggest
go back
gift,
to fourth grade.
The biggest gift I was ever offered was a woman offered to buy me a brand new BMW. I wasn't even a priest.
Yeah.
Now, granted, when someone asks you, oftentimes there's a reason.
Yeah, she probably felt bad about something she did, or she was trying to touch your penis,
or they expect something from you when you're a priest. Like, hey,
like
Like,
a lot of priests hold power for like construction jobs and stuff, fixing stuff up.
Right, or like my daughter wants to get married in the church, but she has this. Can you have any sway? Some things like that.
Yeah, she had an abortion.
So it's to.
Oh man,
she had a divorce.
There's all these different things going on, but
God,
but anyway,
she's a Jew.
Take this beamer, please.
Have a beamer for me. The Saint Francis is take of the wolf. He feed it.
Yeah, that would be such. There's
everybody in village.
a limit. As long as basically, if you're a priest, as long as you don't touch kids, you can probably get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where
seriously,
I remember my priest always saying he'd be like just don't harm the people of God. Don't harm your flock. And today, that's like a good standard.
Did you guys?
That's unfortunately where we're at.
Did you guys do like mass practice? Did you guys like?
See, I didn't get to that point. So like the last couple of years, you do that.
What about the singing? Did you guys practice the singing?
Oh, you guys probably had to sing.
Guys had Gregorian chant all the time. Yeah. Guys are a lot of guys. See, a lot of guys were musically inclined there.
Not a lot of priests. I've never heard a priest sing where I was like, wow, that guy should be on The Voice.
Yeah, but these are all like weird gay dudes that would definitely inquire their whole lives.
Yeah, but what happens to them as they get older, dude?
We will not jerk off.
What happens as they get older, though? Because every priest I've ever seen is just total monotone.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys who were pretty good at. They're smart in a lot of ways, and yeah. Now there were guys who were really athletic. The guys who were like athletes were like biggest bros on our. They were like there were some good guys.
There's some good bros in there.
There were some good bros.
I don't think kids are hot.
What were they like?
Sick priests.
They're probably good at chasing people down, dude.
Yeah, they probably chase those kids.
Oh gosh.
They start chopping their feet.
That seems like a fucking. I mean, imagine like. If you were just up to no good, leave it at whatever it was, and then you had to go stand in front of 200 people and like sing and talk about God, I would break down.
That's the thing. Like
even if I was like jerking off to weird shit the night before, and they're like, "All right, dude, it's mass time." I'd be like, "Oh my
god!" Even
God.
like public speaking, they do everything different now. I mean, you're really critiqued on a lot of ways, and it's a lot better than it was even like 15 years ago. Like seminaries are really much better now.
What do they? I mean, as far as like homilies, do they say like make it as long and excruciatingly boring as possible?
I was also told the opposite.
Dude, those things bad. Are fucking brutal.
That's the thing. Like you got to be in. I don't know.
I don't see a lot of spark. I went to church my whole life, and I go there and I'm just like,
if you're in touch, you're not going to talk for half hour.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people that become priests are very socially out of touch and are just fucking weird.
And
it's like here's my time to shine. It's like here I'm gonna.
So boring.
So they make it about them.
It's no Matt and Shane's secret podcast up there. I'll tell you that, dude.
It's the fucking shit.
In fact,
share this podcast with your friends.
The priest who taught us homiletics, he was a good man.
Review us on iTunes.
He was. He would say 5 minutes or less.
5 minutes?
Yeah,
never in my life.
Because think about it, like you're gonna hit one issue. Now that's a way of doing it. That's one aspect. But he said like hit one thing. You're talking about one topic. Because if you talk for a half hour about all the different things, what are you going to take away from it?
Nothing.
You don't even know, and you're going to zone out. You're not even going to listen, especially if you're boring. So
Yeah, that's been my experience. I've gone to church since I was little and kind of stopped after going to college, and it was just like I would sit through homilies and just be like, oh my God, it was just and I go back now being older, and it's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah,
I
I
understand
know.
what they're talking about now, but it's like, good God, this is boring.
Yeah, it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the guys are out of touch with what the fuck humans are doing.
I would say if you hear a guy our age who gives a homily, it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I've never seen
Yeah.
that. I only see the
I would
elders.
say so.
Yeah, it was.
All the guys I know that now, I mean, I listen to them give homilies, and it's like, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Did any of them ever
So
do
good.
like the black preacher, like, and then Jesus, huh?
There was one
Get
guy, he
kicked
was
out for
a
that.
weirdo. There was one guy.
hilarious.
One guy from North Carolina.
And the Lord has sent unto Jesus, huh?
Yeah, but he was also the guy to tell us like he was offended by something.
Dude, that must
He
be
would go to
so
bed at,
funny
like,
when they
7
do priest
p.m.
open mic
Yeah.
and like, all right, dude, mask go. And he's like, and the Lord has said, like, dude, chill.
Don't jerk off.
And he said it.
Don't jerk off. Can I get one more? I don't know why that was the voice I used, but whatever. Yeah, I was excited for you to become a priest because you're a normal fucking guy, and to the listener, you probably sound like a fucking loon.
I sound like a psycho.
You probably do,
I
'cause-
sound like Dairy Queen.
Yeah, we're talking to
Yeah.
you about Catholicism. So anytime you
Sure.
talk religion with anybody, it's
Sure.
Tough.
an actual religious person, which
Yeah, I
you
mean,
are.
and
You sound like a fucking weirdo.
One of the big, and if you don't mind, I got to go after this. But one of the big things, the tough things for me for leaving was I'm letting everyone down.
Yeah.
There was that thought, like, you know, people are rooting for you. You know, even if they may have their
Sure.
preconceived of who I was, and rightfully so. I mean, I don't mind anyone who doesn't think highly of me for many different reasons, but it's like, you know, I was in there for long enough, and I knew I got a glimpse of what it was like to be a good priest, and like you
Yeah.
want to strive for that, and you want to be like that. And there were guys who just don't. Not say I would be the best priest because I wasn't meant to be a priest, right? So I can't say that for sure. But at the same time, there's guys who are just like literally there just to go through the motions, just to
Free life.
eat nice dinners. You know,
That would
and,
be so annoying though, dude.
it's-
So you were one of 7 kids, you said.
yeah, six
Dude,
technically.
so I'm
yeah,
one
it
of
was
6 kids too,
Yeah.
dude, and
I was the
my
youngest.
mom would fucking bug the shit out of me if I was a priest. It would be every day, like my aunt.
Yeah.
It would be. My
Yeah.
mom would just be my boss.
Oh wait, didn't
forever.
you say my aunt was a nun or some shit? I think
I
I've
don't know. I think.
like I've
Yeah,
dude.
somewhere
What are
down
your-
the line.
so what are
Yeah,
your-
you had a-
Gillis-
You got
Gillis's
some.
in
You got
the-
some Gillis's
yeah.
in the
Oh,
cloth.
definitely, dude.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta
What do you think about a system where like the priests and nuns can freely have sex and then just go about their business?
bad.
Why?
The worst thing.
No, it's not. It's
The worst
just,
thing.
It's pure like they would have like masquerade sex, so like they didn't know who each other's were.
Yeah.
And they would just do mixers.
They wear the wolf mask for St. Francis.
I mean, you could do that. Let them have sex, and then just they go back about their business.
It's
They
not,
could have like the in
bad.
church Tinder, and they could just like match.
Damn, dude.
it's like the last thing you should do.
It's so
Why?
sick. Matt and Shane's
Perfect.
Secret Podcast is religious now.
I know it'd be awesome.
No, it's I don't know.
You gotta let them do hand stuff.
At the end of the day, I think the church always does things in teaching is always it's always a positive, not a negative. So don't do this just because. There's never a reason for that. There's always like
Yeah, they're not just saying don't jerk off for no reason.
correct. It's not just because it's bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's bad for these reasons.
Yeah.
Not only is it bad for you, but it's bad for your spouse, your family, every relationship you have. It's not what you're. I mean, you can go on for days about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
just fuck.
So if that makes sense, that's why the
Whole
rules are
life.
the way they are.
Do you
Just
think
like-
anyone
just like-
ever really went through it and never came their whole life, the whole time they were
Yeah.
a priest?
I know a guy who's just like us. He's the best priest, and
Yeah.
I always thought it was amazing. He was like, "Yeah, I dated like one girl, completely normal, tremendous."
Tits.
I was gonna say football and baseball player. He's the man, and he never did any of that stuff.
He never
never
came.
jerked
He
off?
was just
Dude,
he
he's
never
just a
came.
hero. He's
Isn't
just
that
the
bad
man.
for you physically, your prostate?
No, it's actually it's
You
awesome.
nut in your sleep, dude.
I've never had a wet dream, dude. That's how much I've jerked off in my life.
I think I had a couple.
Your dad had a couple.
My dad fucking launched one.
So there's
hard.
no bad physical. Like my torso hurts if I don't come in 4
I mean,
days.
you could say that the people who live the longest, like you look at nuns.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like 100 when they die.
Yeah, because they're incubated though. They don't have any stress of life. Doesn't have to do with them not getting
I don't
fucked.
know. I think a lot of them are around poor people all the time.
Dude, I used to go to the nun house for my grade school, and you just sit there and drink cranberry juice, and they rock in rocking chairs. Dude, they're fucking chilling. Trust me.
Some.
I don't think the life of a nun is stressful. Really,
I
at
ran
all.
into
I don't know.
some sisters of there was a bunch around Ardmore
Yeah.
that would always get their car fixed where I'm at.
Okay.
Might be,
Sisters of, like the Jesus cross.
Child Jesus?
Maybe, yeah.
Might be from, they run Rosemont.
And they did a lot of like their whole thing was just helping poor people, like every single day.
Yeah, but that's some people do
maybe
that.
not that.
That's
Maybe
so
it's
they
not
had a
that.
job, which they probably did. But then there's people job and then family,
Yeah,
and
no,
then
I hear
stress
you.
of bills
I
and
hear
money.
you.
So their stress is a fraction of. I think.
I mean,
an
there
average
is a
person's
certain
stress.
aspect where their material needs are taken care of,
Yeah.
sure. But at the same time, it's like, Mother Teresa, for instance. I mean, her whole thing was to take people in the caste system in India and bathe them and clean them and let them die with dignity. You know what I mean? Like,
Also,
Yeah, that's
think
good,
about
huh?
think about the stress of also believing that there's a fucking hell. Like you
There's people
believe
who
it-
do that and have families
yeah,
and
but
jobs.
think
and
about
kids.
the 100%. Like those old ladies in those rocking chairs are like, oh my god, there's
They're
some
safe.
crazy
They're
shit on the
all
way.
day. They're just like, I've been in my rocking chair. I've never flicked my
I agree
bean.
with you.
yeah.
I just think their stress is minimal.
So
Minimal.
back to the coming.
Yeah.
You're saying nuns are a bad example because they don't have stress.
Yeah, nuns and
So
girls
the
can
coming-
go forever
the
without
coming
sex.
doesn't
I'm
count.
talking about the dudes. Yeah.
Yeah. So holding in your cum
I don't know. Priests live long lives. Most of the time.
because of the strength and discipline from holding in your cum.
I would say
Sure, it doesn't
that
feel
I mean,
good.
I'm all about no fat.
I would
It
argue.
doesn't feel good.
I would argue from a practical standpoint, the lifestyle of a nun and a priest is nicer overall. You're not in risky behavior. You're not doing dumb stuff. You're not.
Yeah, that's
You're not a mess in
Yeah.
any way. Like, odds are, you know what I mean. In
Yeah.
a normal aspect, you lived a good life. You're not drinking your face off. You're not eating. If you live a normal life, that's what it
Yeah.
provides you. You know.
Yeah, I guess.
On-
Kind
on
of
a-
alienated too, though.
What's the thing? I would say no. I mean, a priest. I mean, here's the confessions of many people. I mean, it's close. You're meant to have friendships and relationships. I mean, that's again, they call you mother and father.
Yeah, they were
mother.
always. I always saw them out constantly doing
Yeah.
shit, which I always. I don't know. There was a weird deacon that was around us that I was pretty sure he was pretty gay.
He's not around anymore.
He's not around. He came out. Nice. Yeah, you can
On
tell he
his
was
own
gay.
accord, and he
which is
had
cool.
and he had issues with the church, and like
Yeah.
he couldn't do what he wanted to do, being who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the church? I know we're fucking running
That's okay,
way
yeah.
long. What about nature versus nurture when it comes to being gay?
Good question. I think the way it goes is there are certain people who are presuppositions to that. Like you may have whatever genetics you might have. You might have some kind of like you're less inclined to be athletic or whatever you want to, whatever way you want to call it. I think nurture. I don't know. Maybe
Gay guys have bigger dicks than hetero guys.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's true.
No, it's not.
On average, they got an inch on us.
I don't know.
Well, then I must be gay because my dick is huge.
Hey, you're running a risk.
I would just say nurture
True.
is I would say nurture is a big part of it. I would say, and some people may have a study out there that says, well, it's because of society. But I would say, if you're a homosexual, odds are you're statistically going to have more issues in your life. Other problems going on. You would
Oh,
say.
baby.
Yeah, like your risk for drug abuse, all that stuff is like promiscuity is high, is through the roof. I mean, you could argue all those different things away, but I mean I would say your life maybe isn't. There's something
Shitty.
not
You're walking
there.
down a
slippery
Your mind, I don't know if
See
something's
him
going
slide
on.
down
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going on. And I know even
going-
Shane doesn't like this, but
No,
I
I
would
don't
say
like this.
maybe you're not. I don't know. I think there's something lacking. I would say.
It's a
If
tough
you get-
life, man.
I would say
it's a
something's
fucking
lacking.
tough life.
And again, the church is,
But how about all that suffering they go through?
very much.
That would be
It's-
that would
pretty
be
chill.
perceived in the eyes of God as something beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if they sat in the
Biggest
mirror and
saints-
whipped
biggest
themselves with
saints in the
dildos.
I think there's a group, and this might sound crazy. There's a group of, like, for men who are gay, trying to not practice homosexuality
Yeah.
in the church,
Called
and it's
the
like,
priesthood.
yeah, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, it's not.
It does suck to sit here and shit on Catholicism because all the other religions are fucking gay.
And it's funny because I hate atheists. They
That's the thing,
fucking
like,
piss me off.
atheists do
But
bother
it's
the
so
fuck
fun
out
to
of me.
make fun of the church.
You
too,
want
at
to say
the
the
same time.
church has done the most for the world? I would argue.
Yeah, I mean the whole reason, that's one thing that kills me about atheists is when they're like, they're like, we could just not have religion and still be good and treat people with respect and, love people like your neighbor. It's like, yeah, you got that from religion.
Yeah, also, the places that don't have religion, the governments, it's called North Korea, Communist Russia.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it sucks.
Communist China.
China.
The worst places the worst atrocities in human history.
And that's one thing that always bothers
That's true.
me too.
Yeah.
Atheistic cultures are called communist.
I hate when
What about nature
and
worshippers?
you're, I don't know what to think about that.
I hate when Catholics get lumped in with like the Protestants that are like building those
Mega churches
dinosaur
and shit.
museums and like mega churches
Insane.
and like
Insane.
abortion clinic bombings and like shit
Insane.
like that.
I mean,
When they're like Christianity, it's like, dude, all we do is fuck kids. That's our only bad thing.
That's true.
We haven't fucked up in a while. Ever since the Pope was cool with the Holocaust, we've been
You
chilling.
guys have been good. Exactly. Yeah.
the big,
Fuck kids. We're cool with the Holocaust. That's it.
I mean, in terms of
That's two
science,
strikes.
a Belgian priest came up with the Big Bang Theory. I mean, that was a Belgian Jesuit priest.
He fucked up. He probably like finished a math equation and was like, "Whoops, god damn it!"
That's
Yeah,
so
I mean-
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Dude,
I think he was in
pretty
the
much all
30s.
science comes up until lately.
Yeah.
has come from the Catholic Church.
Right, and the argument is the church stunted. It wasn't until the Renaissance where learning was flourishing. It's like, yeah, but the Roman Empire ended and barbarians took over. I mean, the church is the one, monastery is the one that like, hey, we got to save civilization. You got to write everything down and keep records.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like starting
Kind
over.
of like the Muslims in Baghdad, right? Or
Yeah.
where was it where they saved all that shit?
Palmyra.
I don't know.
Palmyra, New Jersey.
Palmyra, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Dude. Palmyra Cougars,
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
right?
Maybe the Panthers?
Panthers?
Yeah.
Maybe
No, the
Cougars.
church is chill. The church is
No,
chill.
I mean,
Shit.
you could say, we have Western ideals that comes from the
true.
church.
Very true.
Yeah, I
There
mean,
you
the
go.
church is
so,
Western
so,
ideals.
So liberty, all those things that we have in this country, ideas, originally comes from the church.
Here's
so.
my question. Do you think at
Yeah.
some point we'll be able to like know those ideals so well we can be like, all right, we can stop giving like 10% of our money to the church and just like chill out on this whole thing?
I mean,
That's
the
where I
church,
think it's
the
going. I
church's
think it's-
main goal is to save souls, and everything else has been secondary towards that. It's so. For instance, you get a Martin de Porres or a Saint Damien of Molokai. He went and lived with the lepers in Hawaii, and then died of leprosy. He went and lived in a leper colony, and
Kind of had that one coming.
I mean, what did he? Yeah, exactly. He knew what the deal was. So
Yeah.
I mean, his first goal was to save their souls, and then in addition to help them in any way.
No doubt. But
So there's certainly that aspect to it. So that's their number one business, you would say. Everything
True.
else is the culture and everything that comes along with it.
my thing is, if the money's rolling in, so in the 1600s, they're like, if you're gay, you go to hell, fuck off. Everyone's like, fuck yeah. And they're like, nice. And then like now that they get backlash, they're like, shit, I'm seeing less people sitting in these seats. They're like, nah, it's chill.
Now the
Come
church.
on back, baby.
I can tell you what
Give me that 10%.
the church is like the last institution that's never given in. The one that matters, you would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Unofficially, we've never given in to any of the modern ideals that are today. So they're not giving in on, and people may say different things. Well, I heard a priest say this. I mean, Pope Francis is very much against gay marriage, abortion, all those things people think he might like. He's hard.
He doesn't like it, but he's not as hard against it.
You could drum up in his past where he was a cardinal and bishop, and he was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say. I mean, that's the thing. We're not gonna flinch on those matters.
Yeah.
And there may be speculation. There always is. You know, you read a news article from God knows where. I don't know, but it's not going to happen.
So I would say, in response to what you said about like how the church is like, less people are coming, maybe gay marriage, or
Yeah.
Pope Francis is like, who am I to judge about gay
Right.
people? But
Yeah.
I think that comes with the church actually evolving. Now you can look at it.
I think it's
as
PR.
from
It's
a
PR.
yeah. You can look at it from a cynical perspective of like, well, they just need more money, so they're just saying that. They don't believe that.
Right.
But I think the main goal of the church is to probably try to figure out the truth of a good life. And if the people are saying, hey, this is wrong, I think it would be in their best interest, if they're looking for the truth, to listen.
You have the shadows are dancing across your face. They give you like a masquerade effect.
Fuck yeah. Well, you just ruined a fucking sick thing.
Sorry, no, I believe you. I
think that's a very
that's the way I look
very
at
good
it.
That's
point.
true.
I don't think the church is. I don't know. I don't look
I
at
just
it.
think
that
I've seen their
cynically.
Twitter things where I'm like, this is active PR on like
Oh,
just
they
like
definitely
any
do
other
that
company.
shit.
does.
They
Well,
definitely do that.
To
shit.
me, it's all the same. It's all the big money
Sure,
go
there
around.
definitely
Nestle,
is.
the church. To me, it's the same thing.
There definitely is an aspect of selling the church, and or you would say getting on social media is one thing. Like the Pope, get on social media and you can
Yeah.
reach these followers. Sure, I mean there's that aspect to it where you could say, oh, he's just trying to get more followers. I mean, technically, yeah. I guess you.
How
could
many
say
followers
That.
does he have on,
I think like
on
over
Twitter?
1 million or something.
Nice.
I have way more than that.
I'll give you this example. So the Episcopalian Church in America.
I think Aziz has that. Yo, shout out Aziz. What up, bull? I think another
Yeah.
disconnect comes from the church's business is saving souls. Well, if you're a person that's like, I don't know how real souls are or what we're saving from.
Yeah.
So then you're like, well, they must know that. They must, because like inherently, I kind of sometimes believe like, the fuck are you guys talking about heaven and hell?
Right.
Why don't you chill with that? You're clearly just trying to make money. But
Yeah.
I guess if you look at it from a perspective of somebody that really believes heaven and hell,
Sure.
maybe they actually are trying to.
Like
I don't know, like because
Yeah.
I think it's like, wait, you guys are adults.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
So I believe in
So it's
souls.
like-
I've seen my soul before.
It's like Gillis. It's like look at the
I swear to
Jesuit
God.
martyrs in Japan. Like they went there for a reason.
Step on your Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't there some guy behind it all being like, yeah, you guys go over there.
Spread
Good
that.
luck.
We can get 10% of their money. in
Yeah, it's
Japan.
like, yeah, good luck. Go ahead. Because they were involved heavily in trade routes, those Jesuits in Japan. They were intermingling in political and
No, that was,
business things
that
as
was
well.
the fucking Protestant Dutch that eventually broke in there.
Was it really?
It was the Dutch, the Protestants.
I gotta reread Shogun because I remember the priests were over there causing a ruckus, dude.
I think the priests were like, "Hey, open your fucking ports so we can
Yep.
get some biblies in here,
Some
dude.
biblios.
You guys need to learn about biblies. Let's quit fucking worshiping dragons, you idiots." But we didn't get enough biblies in there, and that's how Pearl Harbor happened.
That's true.
And then they ended up finding God in the form of two sun bombs.
Yeah, that's true.
Japan was always very atheistic. In World War II time, it was very much a I don't know. They had those tendencies, I guess. Basically, they didn't have Judeo-Christian ethics. Therefore, they treated people terribly.
Lopping people's heads off.
Yeah. In fact, the Nazis, how they treated prisoners of war was a million times better than how the Japanese were
The way they
treated.
treated
a hot
Western,
take, dude.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, it's
not.
true. It's true. Yeah,
The way they treated
fed you and
Western
clothed you, yeah.
prisoners.
Yeah, like
Definitely
even,
not Eastern prisoners because they
Agreed.
treated those Ruskies.
Well,
Which
yeah, and the Russia and Germany, they
which
had-
would make up 80% of their prisoners.
Correct. You would say that. That's fine. That's fair to say.
So-
And they hated each other. And
Yeah.
it's, for many different
The
reasons. But
Judeo-Christian values were not on the Eastern Front.
correct. You could say that. You could say that. So there's an argument to be said for that, let's say.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, we can talk all day about this
Yes. Yep.
because being Catholic rocks.
True.
Guys, quit fucking coming. Could you do me a kindness? Could you knock off the coming?
That was a great cast, dude. That was fun.
Yeah, I think
I'm
we
just,
got a lot
I'm
of
just
Southern.
afraid I'm not funny. So it's
It doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter,
That
man.
wasn't
Okay.
meant to be that funny.
Yeah, it was nice.
That was nice.
man.
That was nice. We got some shitty atheist listeners. We got some. Got a lot of Southerners.
Yep.
Probably all have their dumb Protestant views.
I don't think I've ever even met a Protestant.
Six is Protestant.
What?
Yeah. Anybody that's Christian that's not Catholic is Protestant. So
just
basically, if
assume
you
they're
ask
Catholic.
someone,
I assume everyone's
Right.
Catholic unless
no,
they're Jewish.
nobody's Catholic.
I just am like everyone's Catholic or Jewish.
Dude, a lot
Or
of
Muslim.
a lot of road hacks will ask because a lot of them are like fucking wops.
Yeah,
like
right.
up here in this region, a lot of them are fucking wops from New York and Jersey, and they'll be like, "Where are my Catholics at?" In the comedy.
wow, they
Yeah,
call
yeah,
that.
I've heard that before.
Really?
Yeah, because then they do Catholic church jokes and
Oh,
Catholic.
sure,
but then
sure.
whenever they ask who's Catholic, like maybe a third of the room will clap.
Huh.
Like not many people are Catholic.
I just figured people just were like, I'm not clapping.
No, it's usually because there's a ton of Protestants.
Dude, I don't think I knew any Protestants.
Every colony was Protestant. The
Yeah.
forefathers.
What do they do?
There's only been one Catholic president.
oh yeah,
Everybody's
JFK.
Protestant.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
weird. Never thought
Our
about
whole
that.
country is fucking Protestant. It's like Quakers and shit. Until all the fucking
Amish.
wops,
Where do Amish people fall in on this?
they're Protestant.
Yeah.
What?
They're like, they're Protestant, but another.
They're
Yeah.
like OG Protestants.
Protestants, it's an all-encompassing term to say.
For
So the
Cat-
guy like from There
Non-Catholic
Will Be
Christian.
Blood is a Protestant.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I
Very
know.
That
much
was a
so.
Protestant preacher.
What do they do?
They're just
They're just they
Christians.
follow Christianity a certain way. They
Christian
don't have mass. They don't have
extremists. Can they come?
sacraments. I
No.
would say no on their end.
No
too.
coming.
Very bad. Yeah.
Every religion's like, yo,
No coming.
could you guys do me a favor?
I wonder why that is.
Could you guys like not come?
Because it's meant for something. I mean, think about it. It's literally meant for something. You could argue.
Shooting on your belly, yeah.
Yeah, but so is spitting, and
yeah.
not many people are against that. Saliva is used for
What's it used for?
saliva
up
in
your
your
hand?
mouth.
Oh,
Lube
okay,
up
I'm
your hand?
sorry. I'm thinking. I don't even know what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I would say that has one purpose.
Saliva.
No.
Coming?
Jizz?
Got a couple.
You got a couple things you can do with
Jizz has
jizz.
one purpose.
Facials,
has one
cream
purpose.
pies.
So what about blowjobs? So it just has to somehow enter a woman. So if they suck it out,
No,
it's fine.
it's. I mean, think about it. Think about what sperm actually is. I mean, it's meant to. So therefore, I don't know. It's
No,
pretty.
you're right. You're saying cum is to make kids.
Sure.
That's it. But I'm saying I like coming,
Oh.
so I'm sick of I'm sick of being told not to jerk off down here.
I've been trying to tell Shane to stop fapping, dude. I'm all about no fap for relationships is great.
If
If you're
there you
totally
go.
dependent, if you're,
Well, if you can see that, then yeah. Then that,
I'm on board
then
with
there you
that.
go.
Yeah,
Just
no.
the church should sell those goddamn pictures, is what I'm saying. They should sell their goddamn pictures, dude.
Oh yeah.
Downplay to some solo. They don't need to be drinking out of gold fucking goblets, dude. Get some solo cups up there.
True.
Sip the wine out of
Pollute
there.
the world with that plastic. I think it's good that they're
Biodegradable.
reusing. No.
Golden
They
chalices.
need- yeah, it's just one. You think about it. You got one cup your whole fucking life.
True that.
You got one sick golden chalice.
True. But gold, I don't know. That's what the
I mean, that's
conquistadors
used
told
again.
the
There's
the
reasons for that,
Aztecs.
too.
The
They're like,
Catholic
why do you
Church-
guys need the Aztecs were like, why do you guys need all this gold? And
Like,
they're
don't
like,
worry about it, dude.
we have a disease that only gold can cure in our hearts. That's what they told them.
Yeah, I went
That's
to
what the priests suffer from.
I was actually in Mexico last week, and I thought I was looking at all these Mayan ruins, thinking about Shane talk. Thinking
About the Mayans.
Yeah.
Shane the Aztec ruined
thinking about
minds.
all
I
dude.
would have fucking showed up and fucked them up.
Oh, you're saying
Yeah.
if Shane showed up on them?
Yeah, right.
No,
Shane's like the
whatever.
white guy they saw. I mean, it'd be unbelievable. They're all short.
Oh, dude,
so
if
short.
I showed up and
The
just
Shane
lads.
with a beard. Shane with his mustache.
coming. I'd show up with a metal hat and just be like, "Come here, you fucking idiots! You guys got gold around here? Put one in a headlock. He's like, go get me some fucking gold." Yeah, the Catholic Church has done a lot of absolutely horrendous things, but as were the times.
Yeah, everyone's done some bad
I'm,
stuff.
I'm,
could say the
I'm very
people in
pro
it-
Christopher Columbus. I'm very pro every genocide the Catholic Church has helped commit. I think it's cool that the Pope was like, "What are you guys talking about? Hitler and the Holocaust?" I'm gonna look the other way. I'm down with that.
You're an old school.
I'm a hardline Catholic, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
sick
I'm
thing.
like, dude, jerking off is yeah, that is a sick thing to get behind. Be like, no matter what we did, I'm down with it. Those kids are fucking liars.
Dude, you should hit the SEM. You got to hit the SEM, see what you're made of.
No, I haven't been to church in like 2 years, 3 years. I'm fucking.
I go for
my
Christmas.
wedding.
Yeah,
Did you go for my wedding? Yeah, that's it.
I was at a Coptic
Oh,
mass
right.
for my sister.
That counts.
How many priests did you have at your wedding? Did you have like 10
Like
priests on
3 or
stage?
4. Well, I go to Latin mass, so it's a little different. But
Yeah. You go to Latin Mass?
There are about
Yeah,
4
dude,
of them.
he's
yeah.
all in.
Dude, you get full De Spirito Sanctos.
Had some of them no fat no fat.
Numina Cumini.
A lot of it's whispered. You can't even hear it.
You can't
They
even hear
whisper
them.
Latin?
Yeah, it's whispered.
It's meditation, dude.
It's sacred. Sacred words.
Wait, so you go to like old school cover
Yeah.
your head church?
Yeah.
Where do you find that?
Anywhere. There's stuff in Philly.
Don't they do it at St. Patrick's in Harrisburg?
Yeah.
Nice.
So if
Gotta
I
get
go-
Latin.
am I allowed to go to my
St.
like
Lawrence in
mom's
Harrisburg.
church? Can I just go in full like veil?
I mean, men, no.
You say you wanted to dress like a goth, like Marilyn Manson, and just stand in the back of a church.
So funny.
This is so stupid. Yeah, we are running long.
All right, we gotta get out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Dan,
Dude,
thanks for coming.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for
Thank
coming,
you.
bro.
Yeah.
That was
You guys
great.
are great.
That
Thank
was
you.
so
Good
fun.
for you,
Thank
man. It's not. It's refreshing to see someone who's religious, not afraid to sound like a fucking kook.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I do hate atheists, dude.
That's the thing. I mean, I think.
You believe in it?
Yeah, and I think it can help your life.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Matt is a Protestant Muslim.
I'm not fucking
who jerks
Protestant,
off to
dude.
trannies.
I don't even know what Protestants are.
They're fucking. Brian Six is a Protestant, dude.
I had no idea.
Imagine his hellish, sinful life.
Jesus.
Classic Protestant. All
Good
right.
Lord.
Yeah, everybody you know that sucks is a Protestant.
All right, fair enough.
All the gay guys,
You think they're Protestants?
Protestants. All right.
All right, later. Oh my God, we're back.
All right, we're back. Just a quick recap. That was a lot.
That was a lot, man.
That was a lot. Yeah, it wasn't as funny as we usually are, but
I thought it was pretty fun.
yeah, it was pretty funny.
That was a cool thing. I always wanted to see what the deal was. I wanted to ask some more personal stuff, but you know, you can only dig. Your shovel can only hit what it hits.
Yeah, well, Dano is like, he's like a fucking hardcore Catholic.
Yeah, he's a good boy. So he doesn't.
He's like a hardcore.
He doesn't
Catholic.
hear any of my filth. As I wanted to ask much
Dano's,
disgusting.
dude, he
sick
loves the cast.
I know he does, but I wanted to ask some real sick personal questions.
Well, because he also has a personal life.
Exactly.
Unlike us two losers.
Exactly.
He's not all in on this.
And that's also too where I'm like, I'm not a total fucking scab where I'm like, just fucking. I'm like, I got this sense.
Yeah, I wanted to tell some stories about him when we were young because he was an animal before.
Yeah.
He went to the priesthood, so it was like when I heard he was doing that, I was like, "What the fuck? That's crazy." I mean, he was.
Dude, you'll never be able to. Honestly, I don't know any other cast that can have that interview. It's like not a lot of people know people who either were priests or priests. You know what I mean?
We fucked up. We should have asked him more about experiences he had personally with pedophilia, like when he was around it.
He was just saying there's a bunch of fucking.
I've talked.
I liked how he dressed up the language. Like there's guys you could tell, they're just kind of like soft, the bad at sports.
yeah. It's like, you mean gay dude's clearly gay? Well, when we were off the mic and I'm talking to him, like I got fucked up at his house on Friday.
Yeah,
just drinking whiskey and eating steak. It was fucking sick. And
it's
we sat there and we're like, fucking gay people fucking shit up. No. But I do ask him about that, and he's like, yeah, they were fucking gay. Like, you get in there. I mean, you're surrounded by... Imagine going to the seminary and being surrounded by, like... First off, dudes who want to be fucking priests.
Yeah.
That's a weird group.
Yeah.
That's why it was crazy when he got into it.
Well, plus, if you want to establish discipline, dude, it's tough to have... Like, if you have in the hallways, everyone's fucking each other, it's like... It's tough. I get that. I get that part of the church.
I don't think people were fucking each other as much in the seminary, but it was just like...
But they could have.
I think they were looking out for it.
If they didn't ask those pre-screening questions like, how much do you love dicks? Like, if a dick popped into a room, what would you do? And they're like, suck it? And they're like, get out of here.
Slap it away like St. Francis did the wolf.
That is a wild life, dude.
But when you hear him talk about shit like the St. Nicholas story and like...
Dude.
All the weird shit that we do, it's always weird to me to hear him talk about stuff like that, where it's like practices we do every single day.
Yeah.
That we don't even fucking know why we're doing it. And it's all because a long time ago the Catholic Church was like, this is what you do now.
That's the same with passing down names. Sweet. A lot of them are pagan rituals too.
Yeah.
Passing down of names. They used to believe that your soul inhabits your name, so you take like your dad's name and then like he lives forever.
I mean, and I see where they're saying that. That makes sense.
It's totally chill.
Because your name, people keep saying your name and you live on through that. Like, I mean, it all, anyway.
Saint Nicholas is going to get your sister.
He will release your sister from a sex slave.
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. There's a ton of that. It was crazy to hear him join that. He played middle linebacker for us. He was fucking sick. He hit like a motherfucker, and
I fucking bet. Dude's a fucking girthy
like,
boy. I don't want to
like
tackle
dirty.
me.
He was like mean to people. He's like a motherfucker out there, dude. But
he's probably bulldogging dudes.
He wasn't. He's thicker now than he used to be. He used to be just fucking.
He looks fucking jacked.
The first time I met him, he was in 8th grade, and I was in 9th. And we were lifting for football, and he would lift with the.
He's built like a power lifter.
He came in and he had the biggest traps I've ever seen. And I was like, "What, you doing a lot of shrugs?" Like I was like, "Do you ever do shrugs?" He was like, "What?" I was like, "Why don't you stop doing shrugs?" But yeah, it was a good. I like that episode.
It's a good cast.
I'm sure we're gonna get a lot. Like, stick to talking about funny shit, you fucking assholes.
Whatever. That was funny.
I gotta stop letting the noise get to me.
Yeah, dude, get the fucking noise out of here. Stop putting that in here.
But
keep that in your fucking head.
This weekend, I'll be at Helium Comedy Club with Sam Morrell. That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, I got bumped this weekend.
What?
I was supposed to be at Magooby's with Miss Pat.
Ms. Pat, she bumped you?
And, yeah, I got down there on Thursday night. As I walked in for the show, Miss Pat came back into the room with me and the manager and was like, "You know I brought my own feature, right?"
Jesus Christ.
And the owner looked at me like, "Oh, shit."
That sucks.
Did he pay really fucking... He gave me some money.
Yeah.
But it was a miscommunication. I wasn't mad at him.
That happens all the time.
Miss Pat was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
In fact, she asked the club owner for my number because I did do a set on Thursday.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I need a funny white boy.
There you go.
Bring him on." I was like, "All right, sick."
Dude, hit Miss Pat world, dude. She got shot.
Miss Pat got shot?
Miss Pat got shot in the head, dude. Miss Pat got shot in the head by her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, so I'm at Helium this weekend. I'm trying to think. I'm sorry. I should have my calendar out. If I have any sick-ass shows. No, you can't go to that.
Helium this weekend.
Helium this weekend. That's it. Fuck it.
Word up. Shout out to Castbox for boosting up our fucking
Castbox.
ratings, dude.
We'll see if that holds. It has held the last couple of days.
I have no idea how
The numbers are back, dude. We thought we were peasants.
Yep, and Castbox apparently has brought us to the masses.
Around August, our numbers just dropped out of from like thousands of listeners to like 200, and it was like, oh shit, we're peasants.
Yep.
And now the numbers are back.
Well,
baby.
they did the hosting service we used
that reported our numbers.
They redid their whole system to report stats, and then it fucking skyrocketed last week.
So we don't even know how many listeners we're reaching.
We
haven't
totally
known
confused,
since
dude.
the summer.
Yeah, we have
and
no
now
idea.
We're back. Now we know we're reaching the
That's
masses.
what makes this podcast so secret, dude. We have no idea. This could be syndicated for all we know. We don't know,
dude. This podcast is secret because number one, we don't fucking really advertise for it or like push it on anybody outside of our fucking Facebook.
True that.
We just let the boys spread the word, dude.
Mm-hmm.
We're like Jews.
Yeah, we are.
We're not trying to spread the gospel.
No,
we just know the truth. We can't
get in too.
No one's allowed in here. And oh my god, this was hilarious. This lady that just got hired at Helium is an Asian lady, and she's
like as what?
As like important. She's high up. She like runs a department or something. And the manager introduced me to her and was like, yeah, he also has a really good podcast. And she was like, oh, what's the name of the podcast? I was like, nah, don't worry about it. Some fucking Asian lady. Every episode's like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm a stupid Chinese.
You're all in there. She's going to kick you in the shin.
So far, like every single person that's asked me what the name of the podcast is has been like a black chick, like an Asian lady. It's always like, oh, a gay dude's like, oh, you have a podcast? Cool. What's it called? I'm like, fucking nothing, dude. Don't worry. It's nothing. Don't even worry about it. Yeah.
It's a lot funny when people listen to it and they go, yeah, listen to your podcast. It's kind of wild, man. And you're like, yeah. Like, wow. You're like, yeah.
You guys are crazy.
My aunt shares it. And I'm like, I hope to God no one at her work fucking is like, what's this?
Oh, my God.
She's going to get fired.
Yeah, when people share it, I'm just like, you're crazy.
I know.
You have a life. But good Catholic episode for the people out there to repent, and please stop coming.
Please.
Whatever you do.
That came on from down high, dude.
No fab.
There's guys who lived and died and never came. You can't go 6 days?
Impossible.
I know, I don't believe that.
Colin, I think his friend, who's probably a really nice guy, is also a fucking liar. Yeah, he's like, he's good at football. He's a cool dude.
Back in the days, you're telling me,
good liar.
back in the days of acceptable child sex slavery, you guys have never
Praise the Lord, I was born to drive boat, feeling like Slash in front of the chapel. I'm lean back with the Les Paul. Shit I smoke is like cholesterol. Spill dressing on the vest at the festival, the best of all. Had a midget Puerto Rican at my beck and call. Best believe that there was neck involved. Fuck around and almost wrecked the sub. We took acid for 10 days straight up in the mountains. Started running with the